This is Better Sports Live.
Oh, Laura, we have breaking news right now. Breaking news. Aaron Rodgers officially is being traded to the New York Jets. And it just came down moments ago in a trade involving 6 picks. Aaron Rodgers is going to the New York Jets. It's official. It is happening. Finally, after all this time, we've been waiting for this trade to happen. And again, this is in real time, so it's coming in. Aaron Rodgers, pick number 15 in the first round, a 2023 fifth-round pick, number 170. The Packers get pick number 13, a 2023 second-round pick, number 42. The Jets' first-round pick, first pick in the second round. A sixth-round pick, number 207. A conditional 2024 second-round pick that becomes a 1 if Rodgers plays 65% of the plays this year.
This is Better Sports Live with Lisa Ann and Rick Kamla on Better Sports Network.
That's right. Here we are. It is Wednesday night. You've got me, Lisa Ann, my co-host Rick Kamla in your face or ear, whatever you've chosen for the next 3 hours. I'd like to thank ESPN for that sound. We make it seem like, yeah, that's a good one. We should be doing this to each other. Make it seem like that moment was very exciting, as if we did not know that this was bound to happen, but it finally happened. Aaron Rodgers did his presser today. He was fantastic, I must say. Nice, fresh little haircut. I'm sure he's already searching a barber. He's going to stay up here, look for housing. But Rick, we'll get to all of that. How are you, my friend?
Oh, LA, I'm so awesome. I'm hanging out with you, ready to roll. We have 4 NBA playoff games tonight. This is as big of a night as you can possibly get to have 4 series all apexing on one night. They're all juicy games with storylines and crossroads of history. Aaron Rodgers is a New York Jet. The Jets killed Carl. Will they kill Aaron Rodgers? There is so much going on, but I'm delighted to be back on the air with you, LA.
You know, I'm so happy. I did a great podcast about a month ago when I was in Vegas. Sports fan. His name is Jack O'Hara. He's fantastic. And so we talked about the Curb Your Enthusiasm Aaron Rodgers situation. He waited till this trade was done yesterday. He clipped in clips from Curb from the Spite store. And I'm like, this is your best work, young man. This is fantastic. But great news for me today and for our listeners. My audiobook for The Life Back is now live. It just went live today. You know, there's always this waiting process. You're excited. You've done the work, Rick. I did that trip late January, early February. You've done the work. You know, you've got to put it to the back of your mind. And when I got the email today, I was like, oh my gosh, I forgot about the audiobook.
Way to go, LA. Congratulations. So you popping bottles? You going out with the girls? What are you doing? That's awesome.
No, you got to write a bunch of posts and get it out to the team and talk about what the strategy is going to be. I also shot a really cool BTS video of the production with a little interview. So I'll be putting that up on YouTube. Then I've got to get that link out to people. No, the actual email was like a trigger for the fact that I have a good 200 more tasks on my plate right now. But once they're done, they're out of the way. Yeah.
Oh, wow. Well, congratulations on the completion of that. I started a book back in the day, LA, and then my sports media career took off and I never went back to it. Okay. So I know you've completed many books and it's something that fascinates me one day. I don't want this thing to slow down anytime soon, but I do want to do it eventually at one point, but I'm proud of you, man. How many books have you done?
So far 2, and both now have their audiobooks complete as well. So the process is done. Let's talk about you. We've got big games. We got the Kawhi Leonard news today. You and I were talking off air about Stephen A. Smith's comments and the extreme kind of opinionated take. This is a time where a player is going through something incredibly emotional. No player wants to be injured. They may want rest days more than they want to be injured, but this is a torn meniscus. This is a serious injury. So it's not just, hey, I can't play right now. It's, hey, how long is it going to take me to recover? How will I be when I recover? And it's a lot of work. If you remember, we've had athletes come out and say once they retire, like, I just couldn't go through the recovery of another injury, how much they make them work. So, you know, your take on this for Kawhi, and I know for me and for everyone that's a fan of the sport, none of us want to see these things happen to players, whether they're good or bad players. It's not how we want you to end your season, end your career, you know, derail you at all times.
Yeah, I mean, it's really tough stuff, LA, because this is the ACL, the knee that he tore the ACL against the Jazz in the playoffs a couple of years ago, took that whole year off. He's come back. It's a meniscus, not an ACL tear, but it involves the same knee, okay? And there's so many complications with that, as you know. I'm wondering if he's going to have surgery. When I got off the air at 4 today, it had not been announced yet. I don't believe it's come out yet. Chris Haynes reported that he's deliberating rehab options, which means he's considering having surgery or playing it out with the healing process. That's a critical element that I want to know. Kawhi's in his age 31 season, LA. And so for Stephen A. Smith to be like, the Clippers need to force him to retire, I love Stephen A. I really do, but it's like his worst take of all time. What do you mean force him to retire? He's 31 years old and he's a max player. And, so I thought it was a bad take by him.
And he's got a ring. And he's accomplished things in the NBA, and he's part of our entertainment, and he's got a fan base. So, yeah, that was a bit much, but we've had some great games. And I will say this city is incredibly hype right now between NBA and hockey. Like the Knicks fans in this city are like fully wearing their gear. I've also noticed that, little tchotchke people at the corners in New York City that sell like fake handbags and T-shirts and scarves. Those people, they definitely have more Knicks gear than they have in a while. And I'm here for it. I walk by and I always say to them, that's some entrepreneurship right there. I see what you're doing. I see where you're at right now. You're going to sell all that Knicks stuff you couldn't sell seasons before. They all laugh. They all laugh.
Yeah, the Knicks, I can imagine how hot they are. We had John Starks on NBA radio yesterday, and he told us, he joked, I was talking to him about the vibe in the arena and the city and what, how lit it is and all that. And he was like, we've waited a long time for this. He went back 2 years ago when, remember, they won game 1 against Trey and the Hawks, or wait a minute, maybe it was game 2 that they won. But the game that they won early in that series, the only game they won, you remember that people went crazy like they had won a championship, right? It was one playoff game. And we saw it after they won, I don't know, one of the games recently here. So I can imagine, take me into it, plug us all into it, LA. Like, is it blue and orange everywhere you look? Is it nonstop chatter? What's going on?
Yeah, it's a lot of that. It's nonstop chatter, but I'll say this, it couldn't be a worse season. MSG is under construction right now. And normally when you walk out of MSG, there's like a ton of stairs and it opens, it just spews out everybody into this huge walkway. And you can go one of like 4 directions at the street, right? Well, right now you walk out and it narrows down into this like 6-person wide walkway. And then you have options where you can either take the tiny tunnels that go right or left that you have to walk in between these. It's so, if you're claustrophobic, I'm going to tell you right now, it's not for you. You got to walk into these lists. So you got to make this like executive decision. Which way is going to be quicker, because it bottlenecks on this one really hard. And then I don't know if I told you, but the first game I went to this year, I realized it was bottlenecking because there was a hot dog stand that was like in the way of the exit, making it go from 6 people down to 2. And I remember letting that hot dog vendor know how I felt about his placement. He's like, well, this is my spot no matter what. I'm like, it took us an hour to get out of there. So that's a downside, because normally the excitement is you run out of the arena, you're in the streets, you run out front of cabs. So you run out and then you're stuck like in a drain for like 45 minutes.
I mean, that's brutal. It really is. But New York, it was so fun to have John Starks on the show and see him beaming in game 4. They're balling right now, LA. Julius Randle just missed a shot. It's 9-7 New York. I got the Cavs winning tonight, LA, but I think the Knicks are going to really pitch a strong game. They're not just going to be like, oh, we're back at Cleveland, we'll get them in game 6. They're too blue collar for that. I think we're going to get a really, really fun game. We got the Lakers and Grizzlies coming up at 7:30. We're in it, man.
I really would like a fun game because I'm trying to get about that game on Friday night at MSG. But let's get to Ricky's props. I see that you really went all in today. You're really feeling these games. And I can't wait to hear, because I had some thoughts today about games, how they go one game. You get 50-some points, you're going back down to 20. So let's go to this first one. You got props for the Knicks at Cleveland. Donovan Mitchell versus New York, over 5.5 assists plus 110.
So I believe that Donovan Mitchell is going to have to diversify his game tonight. His assist flow in this series has gone 8, 13, 5, and 5 in the 2 games in New York. 13 dimes, LA, was the only game that the Cavaliers won. That's the model that they need to take into this game tonight. Play a balanced game. A one-man band is not going to get it done against these Knicks, and especially not against Josh Hart. And role players always play better and hit more shots at home. And so Donovan's passes have a better chance of turning into buckets by the Oshmans and the Garlands and guys like this. And so I like the over at 5.5 assists on Donovan Mitchell. Not his points, LA. I don't know. It just, I think we're going to get a grimy defensive game tonight. I don't like the point over, but I like the assist over.
I like it. You got RJ Barrett at Cleveland under 17.5 points, and it's minus 140.
So role players play better at home and worse on the road. It is not an adage or a cliche. It's a truism. And RJ Barrett has been the personification of this. In the 2 home games, he went for 19 points and 26 points. In the 2 road games, he went for 7 and 14. Huge difference. And he's going to be more confident coming out of those 2 New York games. But I have a feeling this is going to be more of a Julius Randle game tonight, LA. And so I'm fading RJ Barrett tonight under 17.5.
All right. The Lakers that we were talking about last 2 months ago, Rick, that were in what? 10th place?
Yeah.
In the Western Conference.
That's exactly right.
Now here we are. LeBron playing some good basketball. These have been some great games. And I recorded the games I missed last weekend while I was in Chicago. And I got to watch, it's so much faster without commercials. Gosh, you can blaze through these games. It's just enjoyable. It's all about the game with the remote, right? Not to go too far, to stop it on time, that kind of thing.
Do you have DirecTV?
No, it wasn't available in my building here in the city. So I had it in LA.
What do you Cablevision? What do you have, LA?
Verizon Vios. It's a whole new experience with me. I was learning new technology. So DirecTV has so many different options.
DirecTV is, I don't want to crush a potential sponsor here, so I'll just check up on that. I have not been perfectly satisfied with my DirecTV experience. And now that Sunday Ticket is no longer on DirecTV, I don't know. I might become a free agent with this whole thing. I don't know though, LA. But the bottom line is, I have found when watching games off DVR, and as you know, I watch almost everything I watch off of DVR. The 2 option on the fast forward is the one that works best for me. 4, it's like, it's way too fast. So, anyway,
we got Anthony. We got AD at Memphis under 35.5 combo for the points and rebounds at minus 110.
I want you to answer me a question before I even get into this. Are you feeling an Anthony Davis game tonight or not feeling an Anthony Davis game tonight? Just a vibe going in. Where you at?
I mean, LeBron's been playing so well. I'm not feeling that big of an Anthony Davis game. Tell me your perspective here.
That's what I'm talking about. I love that. I'm not either. Okay. I think he's going to be better than game 4. Okay. But I did some math on this, LA, and I'm not feeling him going over his combo tonight. It's 35.5 combo points and rebounds. And his PR flow, point rebound flow, has gone 34 under, 22 under, 48 over, and then 23 in the last game under. And here's the thing. So, I don't like that. I don't like the undulations of his motor. I've been complaining about it on NBA radio for weeks now. And I'm waiting for that, the Anthony Davis motor conversation to hit ESPN's panel shows, and you'll know where they got it. They poached it from me. That's cool, though. But LA, this is a gravy game for the Lakers and Davis, right? They're up 3-1. You're on the road. You don't have to win this basketball game.
Yeah.
Memphis does. So will Davis be motivated? Merely coming off of a subpar game? I don't think he will be, LA. I think we get the paper tiger tonight, and we get the tiger version of Anthony Davis back at home in LA in game 6.
We got some props for the later games. We'll hit these after the half an hour here. So we'll go back to these because I really want to talk to you about last night. So we've been, Trae Young's been starting to allow himself to be played, painted as the villain, which I kind of like. You know what I mean? It's been a flip of the switch, right? Well, I'll tell you what, that villain took over last night, and I can't even believe it. And I know you've seen, the drama. There was a Janet Jackson concert supposed to be. Where was this concert?
State Farm Arena in Atlanta.
Yeah, and so he tweeted her today that she's invited to the game, which is just great. Most people don't really remember a lot of Janet Jackson songs, but our generation does. But Trae Young, that shot, and I really liked his presser because he told such a long-winded story about what he was thinking about in those seconds when he was going down. Really helps me understand the mentality of the couple cues that you're looking for, right? Your defender coming up close on you, is somebody coming around this way? And it just seemed like he knew he was going to take it, but waited till 1.8 seconds to do it.
And I love that you brought that up. We talked about it and played that sound in that bite on NBA radio today. He explained that he wanted to go for a floater or a layup and not the logo three, but Jaylen Brown sagged off of him. They're only up one, okay? So Trae did not need a three. And so Brown was anticipating a drive, sagged off. Trae was like, cool, you're giving me space. It's basically a freebie whap in your mouth for the win. Just a really cool X's and O's little moment right there between a great defender and an outstanding offensive player. LA, it's not the best playoff game he's ever played. That was game one against Milwaukee in the East Finals a couple of years ago. But to me, it's the most important game of his career because that was all gravy at that point. A coach has been fired. His reputation has been dragged through the mud. And for him to go to Boston in a game that all of us, including me, thought Boston was going to Hulk smash on them and win that game, I think it was the most important game of his career.
I do too. And I think everybody was shocked, but the defense was also prepared for the fact that, Trae's probably going to come down here, drive, get the easy layup. They're only down by one. So everybody's kind of having these thoughts, and to know the processing of the information we talk about in the NFL with quarterbacks, but we don't really talk about it much. I just thought that was great. So like, as the villain as he's become, he was cool as a cucumber, got it done, and shocked that crowd. Like, just watching I love when they pan over the crowd and you're like, your heart was just broken.
My heart does not bleed for Boston fans, and I'll leave it at that. Okay. So, I mean, Trae Young is okay. I have so much in my head right now. I got to organize it. Okay. First of all, LA. I went back through Trae Young's playoff game log, right, to see where this one ranked up, right? And I saw the game one at Milwaukee. He went like 48, 7, and 11 or some stupid line like that. There was a game 5 at Philadelphia, that 7-game series they won. He was big time. Game 5 at the Garden, you remember, right, when he took the bow. And then this one. The thing that they have in common, LA, all 4 of those games, the biggest games of his career, are all on the road. So this guy loves the villain role, plays up to it. He did the swaggy as hell Ice Trae Selly after the big 3 last night. LA, can I ask you a thought bubble question here? Were you happy, speaking of the villain here, were you happy of Dillon Brooks running and hiding from the villain role and blaming us, the media and fans, for creating that persona about him? Just a quick little thing I want to take your temperature on. What'd you think about that?
I mean, in a world that's so anti-bullying, he did say that LeBron is old, and that could be considered bullying. That was completely unnecessary. But what I loved even more is that LeBron, being the man that he is, LeBron is like when Jay-Z said, I'm a businessman, right? LeBron walked up to him before the game and spoke to him. And I was like, oh, that's cold as ice, LeBron. Like, you just face on this kid. Like, I'll show you who's young, who's old. Like, it was amazing. But yeah, Brooks didn't stay true to the character. If you're going to take on the role, especially in the playoffs when all eyes are on you, you got to play it to its fullest. Don't back down. Don't point blame. You had shades on. You made such a snide comment doing an interview that you heard a reporter snicker in the background. Like, you don't normally hear that stuff in a locker room. So you know what? He got served up a case. He tried to deflect it back on other people, but we got the tape. We got the receipts. We know you did it. We watched that clip on Twitter millions of times.
I mean, come on, man. He walks into the arena. By the way, I think it's all dope. I think it's really cool. Like, I love villains. Bill Laimbeer, Dennis Rodman, Draymond Green. Like, come on, man. Who doesn't love it? Reggie Miller. Who doesn't love an NBA villain? They're awesome. The league needs them, okay? Own it, dude. It's going to get him paid, LA. Don't run from the villain. Now people are like, what the hell, bro?
I was the
who
villain
you
in my
are.
previous career, so I was always the villain. So, I mean, I always was the villain.
We're pretty.
Everyone was afraid of me at all times, and I liked it that way.
I mean, you parlayed that very nicely, didn't you? And you did not run and hide from that.
Nope.
So I'm just saying, I want to get your temperature on that. I thought that was Bush League, man. Just own it, dude. He's a free agent this summer, LA. Why are you putting like paws and tennis in people's brains? Like, just let them know, yo, you're getting a defensive dog / villain. Sign me up.
Sign me up. Just be it. Look what it did for Trae Young. And you're right. Trae even said the chants don't bother him, that he was actually almost flattered that they came out faster this game than when they were at MSG and they started. He loves it.
Loves it. Yeah, Trae is LA. He is becoming complicated. Okay, it didn't used to be complicated, but the two coaches that have gotten fired on his watch, he is related to that. I'll leave it at that and check up there. Is not to go in too far, in a moment that we're celebrating him, but all the trade rumors, LA, they've been going on all year long. Like, really, we're actually reporting and asking questions about trading Trae Young in his 5th season, a future Hall of Fame player, a guy that you traded Luka freaking Doncic to get. Really? We're in here talking about trading him? Never made sense to me. And I think he said a big old shh to all that last night, LA.
I do too. Let's talk about the next game, Minnesota at Denver. Look at my Denver Nuggets, buddy. You know what I mean? I have an opportunity now to hit a game out in Denver for the next round of this as well.
Really?
Things are looking up for the kid. You think I'm rooting for teams that I can't get to go to great games? Ball Arena, I'd get to see Rocky again. I bet you playoff Rocky is even better than regular season Rocky.
There's no question. And your guy Yoke will actually play in that game. He was resting when you went to see them, right? Isn't that correct?
Yes, he was. Yes.
Yeah, that's buzzkill.
We did briefly get to chat after the game, though, as he was walking to his car, because all the players park in a parking lot right behind. So I walked out with my friends, and we were just chatting with everybody.
You had a conversation with Nikola Jokic, and this is the first
hello,
we're hearing about
just
this?
Hello, just talking to people when they're pulling in and out of the parking lot and walking to their car. Just casual small talk,
Did you talk horses with him? He's got a horse farm in Sombor, Serbia. Did you talk horses with the man?
No, but randomly, Ian Rappaport is in the horse world as well, and one of his horses is going to be in the Kentucky Derby.
Shut up!
Like, that's so. I mean, if your horse wins a Derby, you're breeding that horse forever.
That's
right?
amazing.
I know.
Ian Rappaport has a horse in the Kentucky Derby?
Thank you, Pat McAfee's show, a well-produced show where I get to learn a lot of different things. Rappaport visits a lot. But Denver got it done.
Yes, they did.
But now the challenge will be, who does Denver face next? This Clippers team, we didn't expect much, especially without Kawhi. But the Suns are really going to be a challenge by them. They're really getting that chemistry going. Durant's just getting more comfortable game by game and making Booker an even better player. What did Booker have last night? 54?
47, 8, and 10.
Not bad for the kid.
Not bad. Wow. It's a Kobe line. I freaking love Devin Booker, man. LA, I'm telling you, by the way, Brunson just hit was that a 3? That was a 2. Knicks up 9 in Cleveland, okay? 23-14. So I'm sorry for that. I wanted to give you an update.
Appreciate it. Booker.
Who did you Booker? So I believe he's the Batman of this team. Okay. Me and Antonio butt heads about this a little bit. All of the stats say he's the Batman. These huge, Durant had 31 last night. Booker had 47. Anyway, that's just an observation that I want maybe you and our listeners here on Better Sports Network to pay attention to too. Maybe you care about that, maybe you don't. To me, who your Batman is unbelievably critical in the NBA, and I believe it's Booker.
I also will say, though, I think Durant is opening up a lot of space for Booker. I think the focus being on Durant defensively is allowing Booker to have 10 plus more points per game than Durant. And Durant's fine with that. That's never, he wants to win. All the kid wants to do is win.
I think it's a great take. I really do. That is definitely a part of this conversation. I feel like Devin Booker is more of a killer, an assassin, the true alpha than Kevin Durant is. I think Kevin Durant is an alpha, but not like a Kobe-esque alpha like Devin Booker. To me, there's just like a cut above in terms of edge and grit and all that kind of stuff with Book. I'm not saying he's better than Durant. I just feel like he's that guy on this team. But LA,
can I say something that I'm really happy about with Booker? And by the way, everybody in the room, we've got our friend from Australia back. We've got Scott, Michael in the room, our friend Jeff, who I just got to say hello to in person last weekend in Chicago. Byron is joining us, such a great sports fan. Brad, hello, there you are. What I'm most happy about with Devin Booker, we never knew how these things were going to go. We've seen them go pretty poorly. We know there's a curse out there. And it is the Kardashian curse. And Devin Booker, unlike Tristan Thompson, and a lot before Tristan Thompson, he must have been a lot of sage. Maybe he's into crystals, but he has seemed to be able to get away from the Kardashian curse.
Yeah, maybe he consulted a shaman. And the shaman got him right. And clearing energy and attachments and all that kind of stuff. Could be. Who knows? Maybe he borrowed some sage from Kyrie.
She's a Jenner than more of a Kardashian, but it really doesn't matter. It's a thing that people think are real. So that's been right there. Will Atlanta ever play defense? Michael said. Well, I wanted to say about defense last night. Yes, it's fun to watch teams score a ton of points, but Phoenix wasn't really playing defense. Clippers weren't really playing defense. I'd like to see when they're really, really like when just coming off of March Madness and seeing none of these games going over 80 points, right? It's a big difference than in the NBA where you're just letting stuff happen.
Very high scoring game last night. To me, LA Phoenix looks very, very vulnerable. Okay. Last night in like 81 minutes of playing time, their 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 players had 22 points. 22 points over 81 minutes. That's god awful. That's Torrey Craig, Josh Okogie, Cameron Payne, guys like that. Their core four has no margin for error. They can't get injured. They can't get in foul trouble. They all four have to kill it every single game, or it's not going to work out. Ultimately, I think that's going to get them in the NBA Finals. But the problem with Denver, LA, is Nikola Jokic is a pylon in the paint. And we've known this, but if you watch the Minnesota game, they swerved around him, they dunked on him, they floated on him, they did everything on him, okay? Whatever they wanted at all times. And Phoenix is going to exploit that. Aiden's going to be a tough matchup for Jokic.
Yeah, I hope they get in a decent series with a good choice of games for me to go to because they could be on a Wednesday night and I've got to work. So, like the game lands on a Wednesday, it's a problem. So I've got to work on all of that. Everyone in this room right here, we already put out the first round. When we get back from this break, we're going to go through the second round of Ricky's props for tonight's slate in the NBA. We'll update you on the Cavs-Knicks game. But tomorrow night's going to be a big night because it is the NFL draft. Rick, where will you be watching the draft? Will you watch it play-by-play live in real time?
There's no question about it. It is I tell Charity the whole thing. I need all the TVs tonight. So we can hang, but if you've got to watch your TV, bye. We'll see you. You're in the bedroom. I don't mean to sound trite like that, but it's one of those nights. I got to have sound up on the NFL draft. I'll be watching every pick live, and I'll be complaining about most of the picks, LA.
I'm so glad they've never changed the sound of the dinger that comes on between. It's kind of like the sports. Right.
That one, right?
It's so perfect. It does something to your heart. It's almost like the Sports Center song. Like I love listening to Sports Center up all night. It's one of my favorite, because it's just all the quick hits, it's just all the sounder from each, and they have the original Sports Center sound. It just reminds me of all that. But we've got a special NFL draft night right here. The Bettor Sports Network app has the best NFL draft experience you're going to find. Join us Thursday and Friday to follow all the picks, chat with fans, and play our live draft game. Get instant fantasy football and betting analysis as the picks are announced. Answer predictive questions and compete for your chance to win fabulous prizes. Pre-draft coverage begins Thursday at 7 p.m. Eastern and Friday at 6 p.m. Eastern. The 2023 NFL Draft Bettorcast. Download the Bettor Sports Network app for free right now in the Apple and Google Play Store. I will be one of the participants from 8 to midnight, pulling the late night shift. It's way past my bedtime, but I'm doing it because I want to be here with all of you. We will be back. You're listening to Lisa Ann and Rick Kamla right here, Bettor Sports Live on the Bettor Sports Network.
Moose and Keith. weekdays at 10 a.m. Eastern.
The word genius is there. Bob Glover, it describes him. Bob, so when's the last time that Twitter defeated you? Because I've been defeated by Twitter today.
I'll tell you how Twitter defeated me one time. I had the mistaken impression that the year that Troy Polamalu won the Defensive Player of the Year, it looked like it was going to go to Clay Matthews Jr. And I tweeted it. And there was a guy on the media bus. He was like, oh, yeah, he's got it, a guy I trust. I won't tell you who it was, but his initials are Mike Garafalo. So I went with it. Got a DM from Rich Eisen, NFL Network. He goes, you sure about that? I go, oh, man. Oh, I just got this wave because like accuracy to me is really important.
Yeah.
So I'm literally on the media bus. We're just getting back from media day. We are slipping and sliding in Dallas. It's snowing. I get off the bus. I open my laptop. I'm hunched over, and I just like literally people are passing me. Bob, what's wrong? And it was Polamalu, and Adam Schefter had retweeted me. Trey Wingo had retweeted me. I'm like, oh, I'm dead.
So when it's Polamalu, then how do you handle that? Like, what was the subsequent tweet
I think
afterwards?
I said, got some bad Twitter info. I didn't put Garafalo's name on there. I had to
10 years later, you can out him. I like that. Yeah.
You know, he wouldn't mind that. He knows the stories. So.
Yeah.
He actually said to me, hey, Bob, I think you might have jumped the gun on that. I was like, oh, crap. There we go.
Campus to Canton on the Bettor Sports Network.
Would Dion bench Shedeur?
I don't think he would.
Like, how bad would it have to be? Because we've seen horrendous quarterback play from this Colorado team for the last, 5 years? JT Shroud, Brandon Lewis, just terrible quarterback play. Like, they were 131st, which is dead last in pass EPA per play. Obviously, it will be better, but how bad does it have to be for him to bench his own son? Like, I'm not sure he will ever either. Like, especially with the attitude that he came in with.
If they don't get Rashada, who do they bench him for this year anyway? I don't know that there's another answer on that roster that you go to. They don't really have a guy behind him. So I don't even know if we would know the answer to that until the next year, assuming that, he doesn't declare for the draft, he returns, they bring somebody else that's competent and behind him.
If they're going to do this the Lincoln Riley way, next year would be the class to bring somebody in. Shedeur Sanders is going to be a third-year player. So he's going to play 2023. I don't think he's declaring for the 2024 NFL draft. So he's going to play in 2024 and then declare for the 2025 NFL draft. And let's remember this. He hasn't had a full recruiting cycle at Colorado. He will have that next recruiting cycle. So maybe he could get one of these class of 2024 quarterbacks there to come to Colorado.
However you're invested in sports, from betting to fantasy, collectibles, and more, join our community on Bettor Sports Network.
We are back right here. Lisa Ann and Rick Kamla and all of you in the chat at Bettor Sports Live on the Bettor Sports Network. I got to hand it to our producer, Heavy T, on air for not only being able to push off his jury duty so that he could cover the NFL draft with us, but also for giving us that great sounder. Here's my theory with jury duty. It's not certified mail. How do they know you ever got it?
It's funny you went there because Charity came back from our mailbox down by the road, and she brought it back, and she said, "You've been summoned for jury duty." I have the jury duty summons on my refrigerator right now, LA.
Oh, geez. Okay, so have you done jury duty before?
I have not. I told you the closest I got was down here in St. Pete. And I drove there and I was late. I wasn't even intentionally late, LA. I'm just kind of.
Oh, when you're late, they don't even let you have an option. Well, that's your way out of it then. Just be late again.
I'm going to be late again. And I'm just going to be late again. I'll show up. They can check the box. And when you show up too late, they've already got their numbers. They put us over in a little room, me and like 8 other people. I just sat there and after on my phone for about an hour and a half, and they came in and said, "You're all released." And so we all went home. And so that's the whole trick right there. Just show up late. They'll already have accumulated their numbers and you get to go home.
Yeah, I mean, that's the way to go. I like it. I like it as much as I like your props. Let's get to your props for the late game. We've got props from Miami at Milwaukee, which is the 9:30 p.m. Eastern game. Jimmy Butler, boy, Jimmy Butler's on fire, at Milwaukee, under 5.5 assists, and it's -115.
This is a Tyler Hero thing, LA. I can't go under on his points right now. I actually think Milwaukee's going to thrash Miami tonight, but Jimmy could still have 30. I don't feel good about going under on him right now. He's on such a heater, no Tyler Hero, all the shots that he wants. I don't feel good about it. I also don't feel good about going over on him tonight because I'm not going to go over on a guy after he had the greatest game he's ever had.
Yeah,
it's not what I do.
It's going to deflate, right? Yeah.
It's going to come back. And so I want to attack his assists tonight and go under. In game 1 with Tyler Hero, Jimmy Butler had 11 assists. In games 2, 3, and 4 without Tyler Hero, the assists are down to 3, 4, and 2. Jimmy Butler has had to enter score mode as opposed to do everything mode with Tyler Hero out. And so it's about shots going up to 28. The pass is going way, way down because he's got to put that ball in that hole. So I'm going to go under on JB at 5.5 assists tonight.
I like it. And by the way, Bettor Boss, thank you for joining us tonight and bringing in your commentary.
What's up?
Because nobody puts better commentary. This is what Bettor Boss says about jury duty. Jury duty is the best. No work, no kids, and no distraction. No expectations to do anything but watch and listen.
That is a busy man. That is the great take from a busy man right there.
My favorite part is no expectations to do anything other than watch and listen.
That is so cool.
That is so amazing.
Really is.
We truly appreciate you. That's going to be the highlight. You might win the message of the day. You've got Bam Adebayo at Milwaukee under 3.5 assists, and the number's minus 145.
Same thing. Game 1 with Tyler Hero, with weapons, with options, he had 7 assists. In games 2, 3, and 4 without Tyler Hero, he had 1, he had 5, and then he had 2, under 2 out of 3. You need shot makers to have your passes become assists. I mean, we all know this, right? But without Tyler Hero, Miami's shot making has dropped. Overall, not with Jimmy Butler, not with Caleb Martin in the fourth quarter, but overall it has. Gabe Vincent, I mean, that dude can't make a shot, man. Kyle Lowry's shot has left him. So I don't see Bam and Jimmy being in pass mode. They have to score the rock, especially now at Milwaukee. Your stars have to take, the mantle on the road. And so I think he's going to score more. I hit the under on him the other night at 19.5. That number now has dropped to 17.5 LA. I don't feel good going under that anymore. So I'm going to bang the under on his assists at 3.5.
I just had a brilliant idea. I was thinking, we get you some Monopoly money. We give you a pile of it. Let's say you start with $5,000 and you actually pay yourself out on the bets that you win. You put the other pile will be the bets that you lost. Since you can't play in Florida, it would give you some substantial look at what it would be like. We should do this.
Well, I mean, I keep numbers. I keep my numbers and I keep track. It has been, how it's been is for my props. LA, I'm right at 500 right now. It has been a wild ride.
I mean, I just think playoffs. Like a little bank box would be cool. You're the house as well as the winner. And when you lose, it goes back to the house and be coming out and have a separate box, could be really cool. Could be cool to see. We got Chris Middleton versus Miami over 19.5 points. The number is plus 100.
Point flow in this series, LA, is 33, 16, 23, 14. Okay. Follows a great game by a bad game and then bounces back. So tonight's the spike up situation. He's playing 33 minutes per game. If he was regular season playing 27, 28, that doesn't support a 20-point game. 33 minutes a game does. And there's a bounce back factor in play, LA. He was woeful in game 4 down in Miami. 4 of 12 from the field, 14 points. He ain't going out like that. He's a terrific player. He's going to have, I wouldn't say like a big one, but I see him in the 20s tonight.
We got Malik Monk versus Golden State over 16.5 points at minus 110.
Yes. I like this one, LA. I do. His point flow in this series, he's over 3 out of 4, 32, 18, 4, and 16. The 4 game was that first game at Golden State, and they were all in over their head. And then they played a really good game in game 4. He had 16. Monk is going to be needed to score more, LA, and play make more, I believe, and ball handle more with De'Aaron Fox with the mangled avulsion fracture in his shooting hand on that index finger. Monk in the home games here in this series is averaging 25 a game. Our number 16.5 tonight. I like the over on Malik Monk.
We got a question here from Michael, and he says, let's see. No, it's from Scott. I'm sorry. What are you two thinking on Bam's points over or under 15.5 for tonight's game?
Well, I saw it on DraftKings an hour or so ago at 17.5. So if it's at 15.5, I'm going over on that. 17.5 to me it's just a coin flip. I don't like to do coin flips. I like to feel like I have an advantage or at least an edge one way. So 15.5, I would go over on that. If you can find Bam at 15.5, it's not, maybe it's an alternative line, LA, but I would go over on that.
And normally for Scott, so Rick usually tries to pick the props that he feels the most confident in. So if we're not listing one, it's most likely because you saw it and you were like, I don't have the feeling for that one. You did your little, as some people say, gut check, right? And you were
awesome
like, no.
point by
So
you. Yeah, like
that's,
if I go
you're
through them all,
selective.
so if I don't have it, like it's not like I missed, you know what I mean? It's a great point by you. I didn't like miss Jimmy Butler at, I believe, 29.5, right? I vet all of these and these are the ones I like.
These are the ones you're comfortable with that you want to advise everybody to get on. So last one right here, Klay Thompson at Sacramento, over 21.5 points. And the number is -120.
Yeah, let me tell you about Klay here. I have a Sabonis prop as well. And so we got, so Klay Thompson here, LA, over 21.5. His point flow in the series has gone 21, 21, 13, and 26. That 13 or under game was the no Draymond game. And Klay Thompson was in the weirdest role I've ever seen him in, okay? He was a conduit, like a passing conduit. He was almost in a Draymond role. Deferred a lot of shots to others, was open for three, let the guy come, dribble, pass. It was just weird, okay? But that was the no Draymond game. In the other three games with Draymond, 21, 21, 26. We got to hit 22 tonight. And Klay has this history of erupting on the road. And so I really like him tonight, LA. And I liked the look in his eye in game 4. I like the bounce, the strut, okay? And he just, it feels like a heater's coming here from Klay Thompson, right? Like the volcano is like ready to erupt. Like that's the vibe I got from Klay. He did have 26. I feel like there's more in that bag for him tonight.
And to keep you updated on the game, Knicks 42, Cavs 33 with 7:24 left in the second. And the Lakers Grizz game just tipped off. So we got 2 games going on. I'm sure you're going back and forth right now to warm up for our guest that's going to join us at the top of the hour, which is Britt Flinn, who you can find her work with Fantasy Alarm. She's an NFL content contributor. So we're going to talk a little NFL draft. And it seems as if you, my friend, did a mock. So where would you like to start with tomorrow's festivities?
Okay, so can I give the people the Sabonis prop real quick, and then
I didn't see it on here. Did you add it? Did I miss it?
I did not. I mean, it's I'm not sure.
Sabonis, go for it.
So anyway, 19.5 points over on this one. De'Aaron Fox has, again, guys, if you can see this, an avulsion fracture on his, he's a lefty, so it's his left index finger, okay? An avulsion fracture is not a bone fracture. It's the tendon above it, and it forces the finger down at the tip. So it's like a broken tip up here, and it's a little wonky. Kobe Bryant had this back in 2010 and won a chip with it. One of the coolest fight through injury things I've ever seen. And so De'Aaron Fox is going to have a weird end of his index finger, and he's going to play. I think it's going to lead to fewer shots, less usage rate. He's going to play, but I think Domantas Sabonis is going to have a game tonight, LA. I think he's going to realize I got to raise my level of play against the defending champs with our other star player, with a mangled finger here. So 19.5 to me. I liked him to hit the over on this one.
All right, we got our last one there. I know that Heavy T on Air is going to add it to the ticker. It's time to talk some NFL draft. How you feeling about tomorrow night, and who do you have going with the first pick?
I am so excited, LA. This is like the longest wait ever, right? Like the Aaron Rodgers trade. It's just the wait is so long that people start to overthink it and say silly stuff like Will Levis should be the first overall pick in the draft. Like whoever said that, wherever that came from, they should be fired. For real.
It came from Reddit, actually. It came from Reddit. And
Reddit.
there's, this is like but it changed the lines. Like it came like, it's bizarro world that we're kind of living in right now, because there's a lot of information out there that's not verified. And, the blue check thing is a thing with people. So there's all of that, but we know that it's not going to be Will Levis with the first pick.
Bryce Young is going to be the first pick in this NFL draft, LA. He's brilliant. The way he processes, the way he reads, the field, the touch on his passes. He's got a big arm. He can make all the throws. He's got the little feathery throws. He's got the big deep ball throws. He leads long drives in the clutch when all the chips are in the middle of the table. He's got cojones. I mean, I could go on. He's a champion. His statistics are unreal. He can run too. He's not a dual threat, LA, but he can run. I mean, he can get a first down with his legs. He can score a touchdown with his legs. You can run a read option with Bryce Young. He's the perfect now quarterback, basically the exact same size as Kyler Murray too. So people try to size shame him, and I point to Kyler Murray, and I say, Kyler Murray has some issues, but he's obviously a terrific player, and he's on a max contract, and he was the first overall pick. So Bryce Young is going to follow in his footsteps, and I think Bryce Young is going to be even better in the NFL than Kyler Murray.
And Bryce Young, well, I could only imagine, because if you remember, we had conversations about Kyler Murray not wanting to watch film, and they had to actually put it in his contract. And you have Bryce Young that coaches have come out and said he rewrites the script after he watches so much film. Right there, there's a huge difference. So Bryce Young goes to Carolina, also gets the mentorship of Andy Dalton, which I think could be incredibly valuable. Habits. Things you got to do every day. The way you live as an NFL player, which is different than the way you lived as a college player. What I can imagine, college players, it's schedules set for them. Everything's kind of laid out for them. It's up to you once you hit the NFL.
Yeah, and Andy Dalton, similar QB in style. Can run, not a dual threat, big arm. I mean, obviously, Andy Dalton has had his failures in playoff games and primetime games, and he's a bit of a turtle up guy in big moments, but that's fine. He's going to be on the bench wearing, a baseball hat, and he's going to be a big help to Bryce Young. A, because he's talented, and B, because he's seems like a real friendly guy. Like, he will have wisdom, and if Bryce Young asks him a question, he'll give him a good answer.
Yeah, I think he'll enjoy the mentorship role. So who do you got going number 2? And by the way, do you see any teams trading draft picks and making moves in the first round tomorrow night?
There's no question. I can guarantee you one thing, LA. We will have at least one trade, move up, move down thing in the first round. I don't know which one it'll be. I think that if you wanted to look at a trade up, it would be number 3 with Arizona. Now, I'll tell you that number 2, I've got Houston taking CJ Stroud, not Will Levis, who I think is just super overrated. And he's very inaccurate, and he's got a big arm, and he looks the part and all this, but I don't see it translating. He's not a runner, okay, with that big rocked up bod. You would think that he's getting out there and getting tough yards with his legs. He doesn't. He stopped running last year, and he's just not accurate, and he has no idea where the ball is going. And so he's too raw for me. And he's not an athletic freak like Anthony Richardson. If he was an athletic freak, I could deal with a lot of those deficiencies, but I can't deal with his. And we know that 50% of these QBs are going to work, okay? Half are going to work, half are not going to work. Take your pick.
Well, also, you're putting Bryce Young, I think, in a better situation than CJ Stroud. Bryce Young gets to play for a team that had a really good defense last year, still going to have a really good defense this year, which is going to make his workload a little bit less because he's not going to be playing from incredibly behind as he may have with the Houston Texans. So for a player like CJ Stroud, how much can he succeed? Because we know that Houston's kind of in a rebuild of everything from the coach to players.
Well, he has weapons. That is the good news for CJ Stroud when he is taken by the Houston Texans. They added David Montgomery with Dameon Pierce, and Mike Boone was added as their third full at the running back position, and talented. You have Nico Collins. You have Noah Brown. They brought him over from Dallas. You brought in Robert Woods. Frankly, I have no idea why, but you did. John Mechie, it just came out today, has been fully cleared. He's good to go after dealing with leukemia last year, which is unbelievable. Okay. LA, John Mechie was a rock star at Alabama. You think of Henry Ruggs, you think of Calvin Ridley, you think of Julio Jones. He's in that, Amari Cooper, he's in that ilk of player. Okay. Jalen Waddle, all these guys, like, he's an amazing football player. So he's got weapons. You picked up Dalton Schultz to be their tight end. Like, CJ Stroud is going to have weapons with the Houston Texans.
All right, number 3, who you got going?
Number 3, LA is I think this pick will be traded. Okay, I do. Do I feel great about it? Who the hell knows? It's the NFL draft. We're going to get wildly unpredictable stuff. If Arizona stays at number 3, like right now, I'm giving them Will Anderson. I don't know if there's going to be a team, LA, the Raiders, Tennessee, like a quarterback deficient team, the Patriots, that like is like, yo, I got to get to 3 to take Will Levis. I got to get to 3 to take Anthony Richardson. I got to get to 3 because Houston stupidly took Will Levis. And so I'm going to shoot up there and get CJ Stroud. All of that could happen. It could not happen. But I got Will Anderson. To me, he's the best defensive player in this draft. The edge out of Alabama going to Arizona. Their defense is falling apart. And he's a total difference maker. And you have Kyler Murray. You're not going to draft a quarterback.
Agreed. And you're stuck with Kyler Murray for quite some time. So you're going to stick in that situation. Who you got going number 4? And by the way, Britt Flinn, who's joining us at 8 o'clock, is actually in Kansas City for the draft. So we're going to get some real coverage here. Who do you got going number 4?
Anthony Richardson to the Indianapolis Colts. LA, the Colts are screwed, okay? The Colts need a home run. They do not need a double. They do not need a triple. They need a home run. Don't take Will Levis. Will Levis is a single, okay? I see him as a starter / reserve quarterback in the NFL. You know what I'm saying? Like in the Baker Mayfield purgatory, in the Jacoby Brissett, like these guys, right? They can start for you, but they're better off the bench. I think that's where Will Levis is trending here. You got to swing big if you're the Colts. Your team is in the muck. Nobody cares about your team. Literally nobody. Not even the hometown cares about. I'm kidding, but you know what I'm saying. Swing for the fences, man. Hashtag draft the freak. Take this guy, Anthony Richardson. He's a tank. He runs a 4.4. He throws the ball 1,000,000 miles. He actually threw the ball really well at the combine, and he's super raw with a ton of upside. That's the way I'm going there if I'm the Colts.
Number 5, who you got?
Tyree Wilson, who is also a freak of nature. The edge out of Texas Tech. He was hurt last year. It's tough to evaluate him, but he's gigantic, and you see him on the football field, and you're like, who the hell is that? Kind of thing. And he's a great edge rusher, and Seattle is desperate for sacks. They lost Bruce Irvin. They did sign Draymond Jones, the D end, but they need sacks. I mean, your offense is pretty much intact if you're Seattle, LA. They've got to bring that defense up, and so I think they'll go defense at 5 and take Tyree Wilson.
Who you got going number 6?
Jalen Carter out of Georgia. Even with the off-field baggage, Dan Campbell doesn't strike me as a guy he wants to get ball players up in there, and like we don't know what happened, what didn't happen, right? In his involvement of it, I should say. But the Lions' offense is intact. You got a great offensive line. You got skill players for days. You got your QB. Improve your defense, and they need pass rush, and they need to get better against the run. And so, look, Jalen Carter is a phenomenal talent. He's a Warren Sapp type of guy. He's a Fletcher Cox type of guy. And so I think Detroit's going to try to pair him with Aiden Hutchinson and go forward that way.
We're going to go 2 more. We're going to go number 7. Who you got, Rick?
The Las Vegas Raiders are going to take Devon Witherspoon. He's the top cornerback in this draft. LA, the Raiders need everything. Okay. Literally, they need everything. So especially on defense, they are deficient in the areas of defensive tackle, cornerback, and linebacker. And at this point, the best edge is off the board. The best interior D lineman is off the board. Go ahead and take the best cornerback on the board. It's a sweet spot for that. It's a great cornerback draft. So take Devon Witherspoon, the can't-miss shutdown corner out of Illinois.
You know, that really puts the Las Vegas Raiders in a great spot because they're kind of like best player available because we need everything pretty much. They're not really looking for a quarterback, but I mean, best player available is what they can do. So building that defense will help them. One more before we check in with our listeners here and then get ready to be joined by Britt Flinn at the top of the hour. Who you got going number 8?
The Atlanta Falcons. Tyler Soto's Atlanta Falcons. Johnny VTV's Atlanta Falcons are going to take, this is going to be unpopular to many. I don't care. This is my mock draft. Jackson Smith and Jigba, the wide receiver out of Ohio State. Bar none, no debate, the best wide receiver in this draft. And the Atlanta Falcons, LA, have made a million moves on the defensive side of the ball. Yeah. And there's all this talk with, the reporters that it looks like Atlanta's going to go defense again at number 8. I think it's a smokescreen. Do I think they're going to take Jackson Smith and Jigba? I don't, because usually what I want, I don't get in drafts, and that's fine. That's what I would do. And think about this, LA. You've got Desmond Ridder and or Taylor Heineke, and I think both will play this year.
Yep.
You've got Kyle Pitts, you've got Drake London, and you have nothing else. let's get this young quarterback or whoever who's next in next year's draft, Drake London, Jackson Smith and Jigba, and Kyle Pitts. Now you're talking about elite weaponry. That's the way I would go.
I like it. We've got the first 8 here. We've got a bunch of guests in the room. Get in the Game says, I would love Richardson on Atlanta. Makes them the best team in the division. But you don't think that Richardson's going to last long enough for Atlanta, right?
I do not. I like where our guy out there is thinking. I think the Falcons should already have Lamar Jackson on their team, but that's just me. I don't think they're going to take a quarterback there because you have Ritter, you have Heineke. I just don't see them doing that. I could see them taking another defender or taking JSN. Some people have said they're maybe going to take Bijan Robinson. Like, why? You have Cordell Patterson, you have Tyler Algier. You don't need him.
Bijan Robinson is who Heavy T on Air would like to go to Atlanta. I think Bijan Robinson is the perfect fit for Philadelphia or Dallas.
Ooh,
so,
I like where your head's at, LA.
Philadelphia, I just feel like the missing link right there, right? But the Lamar Jackson conversation, so much is happening except this, right? We're not getting any news. And I think part of the reason is because when players are dealing with agents talk to the Ian Rappaports and go on shows. They kind of fill you in on a little bit of what they keep the story alive. I feel like we've never had less information about what's really going on. But Lamar Jackson does once in a while after something happens, he'll tweet like a GIF. Or like a SpongeBob something. And then Odell will tweet something. But like there's no pressers or any real conversation. We're living in the world of emojis and GIFs.
Yeah, and you make an outstanding point. Where does Woj get all of his intel? Where does Shams get all of his intel? Where does Rappaport and Schefter get all of their intel?
Agents.
Clearly, like front office people are involved in that, but agents, okay?
Yeah.
And agents are going to be more willing to spill the beans about like dicey stuff than the team will. The team isn't going to want drama or create drama or like puff it up, but agents sometimes don't care. You know,
also agents are in the sales business.
Yes.
You're in a commission-based business. You want to raise the price. How do you do so? By, creating an allure. There's this many people talking about him. Oh, we've got deals. We've got offers coming in. Whether it's true or not, you never really know.
Exactly. So I think it's just a great point by you, an observation that it is kind of quiet on that front because there's not that interface that Rappaport can, I don't know the football agents, but a Scott Boras, a Warren Legary, like the big agents in the NBA, whoever that is in the NFL, Rappaport and Schefter are boys with these top agents. Okay. I promise you that. They're at the NFL draft. They're
Rosenhaus, all these guys. Yeah.
Of course, Drew Rosenhaus. They're cocktail. Lee Steinberg is another one. They're cocktailing together at the bar, okay? Like at the hotel they're all staying at. Trust me, they're definitely texting, and that's where these guys get a lot of their intel. So that makes a lot of sense.
I agree with you on that. We're going to be joined by Britt Flinn when we get back from this break. You can find her on Host of Her Story, co-host at Lightning Round, and NFL content contributor at the Fantasy Alarm. Follow at Britt_Flynn. Britt's joining us from Kansas City, from the draft in Kansas City. It's going to be exciting coverage. Stay tuned. Thanks for all your comments right here in the chat. We'll be back. Lisa Ann and Rick Kamla right here, Bettor Sports Live on the Bettor Sports Network.
Monday Night Rants with Edward Rouse on Bettor Sports Network.
One player in minor league baseball is crushing. He has 7 home runs already, 9 games, 6 in a row, 15 RBIs, crushing almost every category in AAA baseball right now. Now, we've seen this before with Mr. Joe Adell. That's right, Joe Adell for Heavy T's, Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim. Joe Adell, defensive liability. I'm going to say that right now. Now, there's a lot of fantasy dynasty believers in him. I'll give you that. He is putting up numbers in the AAA level right now. But my goodness, is he going to be able to get at-bats every day? I know there's the DH, but you also have Ohtani. Is there a world where we see Adell for the Angels be called up? Probably, but come on. But do I believe it or not in Joe Adell? Listen, he does have the offensive pedigree for your fantasy teams. High prospect. He once was a high prospect, very valued. He could easily come up and put up some numbers for your fantasy teams. Just where are they going to play him defensively? That's the only issue with him. So kudos to him for what he's doing. But ultimately, you got to think his time may be limited there in Anaheim. And I know that Heavy T's not a fan.
I can't stand Joe Adell, the biggest defensive liability. But you also kind of hit the hammer on the head there as well. He can't DH because Ohtani's a DH. So what do you do? So he's performing this well in AAA. You can only do one thing. The Angels need a lot of bullpen help. Trade him while his value is high. Give me someone like Daniel Bard, maybe Aroldis Chapman, David Bednar out in Pittsburgh. Give me somebody, a couple pieces to fix this bullpen and get this man out of the farm system. I cannot stand Joe Adell. Dude cannot catch a ball to save his life. He can't react to a ball. He's throwing balls to the Astros dugout from the outfield instead of home plate. Get this dude off my team. Cannot stand him. Don't want him. It's kind of like the Mike Singletary speech. I want winners. This guy's not a winner. Get him the hell off my team. Don't want him. Get him out of here.
Welcome to Monday Night Rants with Heavy T.
I can't with this dude. I just can't. Every time I see him in an Angels uniform and he's playing the outfield, I lose about 3 hours of my life. It's just gone, and I'm never getting it back. And
Well, good news. Good news. Only 2.5 hours this year.
That does not make me feel any better. That makes me feel worse.
Okay.
Oh my God, Joe Adell, go away.
However you're invested in sports, from betting to fantasy, collectibles, and more, join our community on Bettor Sports Network.
We are back. Lisa Ann and Rick Kamla right here on Bettor Sports Live. And as promised, though she does not get to Kansas City tomorrow, we're joined by Britt Flinn, who you can follow at Britt_Flinn. Britt, I cannot wait to be a part of her story. I know we have this coming up in May, and I'm so excited for you being a part of Fantasy Alarm, co-host the Lightning Round. You do so much great work, and now you get to go to Kansas City and be a part of the NFL Draft.
Oh my gosh. Thank you guys so much for having me. I cannot tell you how excited that I am to have you on Her Story because you are just a legend and it's going to be so incredible. And going to Kansas City tomorrow to cover my first draft is just going to be amazing. And I'm really excited to dive into it. So thank you guys for having me.
Well, you can listen to my new audiobook. It just got released today. You can listen on your trip and then have all your questions ready for me. But I've got questions ready for you. Before you came on with us, I had Rick give me his top 8 picks, where these players would be going. And we know this is all hypothetical, but Rick Kamla's own mock draft, he's pretty good at this kind of stuff, Britt, I got to tell you. So he's got Bryce Young going number 1 to Carolina. How do you feel about that pick?
I think that's all but written in stone, despite what whoever on Reddit yesterday posted that Levis is going there and made the odds just go into complete chaos. It has to be Bryce Young. So yeah, I think you're exactly correct there.
Is that unbelievable? They went from what, plus 400 to plus 4,000. I mean, that's not good for it went from plus 4,000 to plus 400 on him being the first pick. This is not good for the books, that this kind of fake news can change actual data that people are relying on. I mean, most people in this betting space saw it as like, okay, red flag, somebody messed something up. This is a thing. And then it came out that it was from a Reddit thread.
Well, and they ended up taking the post down on Reddit because it messed the books up so bad. And then you had the odds for him going number 2 overall go crazy, and just everything was complete chaos. So, kudos to that troll on Reddit, whoever did it. I mean, you caused the chaos that you wanted. Do I think it's going to happen? Absolutely not.
Britt, pleasure to meet you. Rick Kamla, how are you?
I'm so good. Thank you for having me on your show. It's great to meet you.
This is really fun. We will be living vicariously through you. You may have a suitcase open somewhere in your house, packing stuff, and get ready to go to Kansas City. Have a blast at the draft. So look, number 2 here. I think it's pretty cut and dried that Houston takes C.J. Stroud. I've got a buddy. His name is John Harris. He literally works for the Texans. He's super plugged in. He does local radio and TV for the Texans. And he was like, legit, they are pondering taking a defensive player at number 2. Levis's name has come up for them at number 2. I've learned, and I bet you know this too, Britt, that the Texans do hold Levis in high regard, which makes sense because it makes no sense. And the Texans are completely clueless with their leadership, okay? Long story short, who do the Texans take at number 2?
I actually am leaning towards them taking Will Anderson. I think that S2 test that they now do instead of the Wonderlic test has really kind of knocked CJ Stroud draft capital down. And on a side note, why not just shore up your defense, kind of call it in for another year, and then go get the USC guy, Caleb Williams, next year. And then you'll have every single piece that you need to make a run. So if they're not completely sold on Stroud being their franchise player, I can definitely see them taking Anderson.
Okay.
We're joined by Britt Flinn. You can see her work at Fantasy Alarm, as well as her host of Her Story. Britt, if there was a team that was going to make a wild trade up for a pick or anything that you see unusual happening, Lamar Jackson news, what is the one thing that hypothetically you think could happen that could surprise all of us tomorrow night?
You know, I've heard some rumblings that DeAndre Hopkins has been in trade talks, or his agent has, with the Ravens. And so if that happens and the Ravens move up, I can definitely see them getting a quarterback, especially since they're expecting Lamar Jackson to hold out.
Did it seem strange that Lamar tweeted the SpongeBob gif last night, and then Odell tweeted, "I'm only trying to live through Bitmoji, emoji, gif. Like, I know this is code for something. We're all paying attention with bated breath here. But I see SpongeBob. I understand generationally, SpongeBob is Rick. We didn't grow up with SpongeBob, but I realized they did, and it means something. What does it mean, Britt? Can you decode this for us?"
No, I'm in the same boat that you guys are. SpongeBob was way past my generation. I'm an old, as I like to say. So I have no idea what that means. Of course, everybody communicates via social media and GIFs by removing and unfollowing. What it means, I don't know, but it definitely means something.
Yeah.
That is hilarious. I just love the whole Reddit thing. Reddit closed down the betting board. I mean, it's Reddit. Like, who put stock into Reddit? I mean, for real.
Well, all the AMC guys do, Rick.
Yeah, remember the stock situation? That was from Reddit.
I thought you were going to hit me with never mind. It was going to be just a dumbass take. So, all right, Britt, as we kind of look at what's going on in this draft here, and specifically, obviously, we're in the fantasy space and betting space. And so it's important to get offensive linemen and defensive tackles and all this kind of stuff. But dang it, how about the sexy stuff, right? Where the wide receivers are going, where the running backs are going, where the QBs are going. So let's start with a guy that I think all of us would agree will be the number 1 pick in dynasty drafts this offseason. His name is Bijan Robinson, the rock star running back out of Texas. He could go top 10. He could go in the 20s. I've got him going in the 20s to Cincinnati because I feel like the running back position is just slept on. And I don't see a running back going in the top 20 because of that. Even a guy as good as Bijan, I've got him going 29 to the Cincinnati Bengals. Who do you have taking Bijan?
Well, I know that you liked JSN to the Falcons. And when I first started doing my mock drafts, that's exactly who I looked at. But then I thought about Arthur Smith and how he started out with Derrick Henry and how he just really loves those bell cow backs. And I think that the Falcons take Bijan right here. And if you look at the books, the odds makers agree. Right now, Bijan is plus 250. He has the highest odds out of anybody to go 8th overall. And, the Falcons kind of like their shiny new toys and they love to run the ball. So I don't really think that they're that concerned with another wide receiver if they can get that bell cow back that Smith loves to use.
Interesting.
Let's talk about who you think Indy will be taking, because this is we have another team here, kind of like Atlanta, that can kind of go any direction because they're just not great. It's going to take years for them to be great again. Kamla here has Richardson going to Indy.
I think that makes perfect sense because Shane Steichen has an absolute love for RPOs. And Richardson would fit in perfectly with that system. Is he the most accurate? No, but neither is Will Levis. So if you get somebody who has that athleticism, who can run the ball, who can fit into that scheme that Steichen loves to run, I think Richardson's a perfect fit.
Are you betting on him, Britt, to be a stud in the NFL? Because he might not be. We know historically, if we've got a cluster of 4 QBs, 5 QBs, 2 are going to be great, 3 of them are going to stink. 3 of them will be great, 2 of them are going to stink, whatever. But it's not going to be all 5, and all 4 of them aren't going to, suck or whatever. So you got to pick the guys you're going to bet on or not. It's Anthony Richardson, because, we talk about Colts, and I think we agree that's a really good fit. But will it work out? Are you a believer in this young man?
I'm a believer in him for fantasy because I love those rushing yards.
Me too.
As far as normal NFL, no. Around 26 of his passes this past season were uncatchable. And that's something that's going to take time to develop. And I'm not sure if he's going to get that development in Indy. I think that they're just going to use him basically as, a runner. And then again, on dynasty teams, yeah, you might draft him overall and have a couple good years with him on your roster and use those rushing points. But if you're not really good in the NFL, you're going to get benched and you're going to get replaced. So he might be great for fantasy for a couple years, but he's not a long-term solution in either aspect.
So one thing I don't know about you, Britt, many things I don't know, @_Flinn. Who is your team?
I am a Cowboys fan, Lisa.
Oh, so me, you, Jim Bowden. Okay, I see this family of friends. Okay, Adam Ronis. So who do you want our Cowboys to take?
Man, I really would love Dalton Kincaid. I think that, losing Schultz was a big blow. Obviously, he's been hurt, so it didn't make sense to give him a longer contract. Henderson or Hendershot and Ferguson, sorry, I combined my names there. They're fine, but I think that Kincaid might be the best pass catcher in this entire draft, even above all the wide receivers. And we need to give Dak weapons. And that was something that we were severely lacking last season.
Yeah.
And especially now that there are questions at the running back position. If we are going full in on passing, then we need another pass catcher and we need somebody with that big build. And I think that Kincaid's that guy.
I am mocking a tight end to the Dallas Cowboys, Britt and LA, and his name is not Dalton Kincaid. I've got the freak out of Georgia, Darnell Washington, going to them Cowboys at number 20. Is it 27? Yeah, 27. So we got the position, and we see the player a little bit differently here, which is cool. So where do you see Jackson Smith-Njigba going, Britt? Where is he going on your mock draft if it is not Atlanta at 8?
Well, at first I had him going to Tennessee. I think Tennessee's wide receiver room is as thin as a wet paper sack. They got rid of Robert Woods. We've got Treylon Burks, who I love being an Arkansas fan, but he struggled with injuries last season. But then all this news about them wanting to trade Ryan Tannehill came out. I think that Tennessee might make a move for Hendon Hooker and trade down. So right now, as crazy as it seems, I think that Green Bay might use that 13th pick that they got from trading Aaron Rodgers to grab JSN.
Wow.
Well, that would shock you then. I could see it. I could see it right here. The Raiders are another team that just needs to fill any spot they really can. We know that they've taken on Jimmy G as their quarterback, so they've got that settled for this season. Who do you have going to the Raiders?
So I had an offensive tackle going to them because Jimmy G is kind of a system quarterback. He really needs to be behind that really stout offensive line. We saw it in New England. We saw it in San Francisco. And up until now, the Raiders offensive line doesn't exactly have a lot of gas to it. The starters that they have now are very inexperienced. And I think if you're going to keep Jimmy G upright, then you need to shore up that position. And I think that Peter Skoronski might go there.
It's a good call. I currently have Devon Witherspoon, the CB out of Illinois, going to the Raiders at number 7. I've had Skoronski in that spot and have changed it. So Britt, as we look at Philly to me at number 10, this is like the most greedy and luxurious draft spot in the whole draft. They
have everything.
They don't need anything. Oh, by the way, they have another pick late in the first round. They have 2 first-round picks, and they literally kind of don't need anything. Like, can you use other good players? Yes, but it's not like, oh my God, they got to get a linebacker. Oh my God, they got to get a tackle. It's not like that. So I've got Nolan Smith the edge out of Georgia. They did have a lot of guys leave their defense, right? So I would think that they would want to go defense and get just a little bit deeper on that side of the ball. I got Nolan Smith the edge out of Georgia going 10 to Philly. How about you?
So I have the same position, different player. I'm going to go with Lucas Van Ness to the Eagles at 10. As you said, there really aren't any glaring weaknesses on the Eagles roster. And as a Cowboys fan, it kills me. But there is some lack of uncertainty surrounding Van Ness's starting time because he was never a starter in his time at Iowa, but he was so productive. It was insane. He's also really versatile and he can play at different spots. And the Eagles, if they did have a glaring weakness last year, it was against the run. So he can kind of go interior and play outside. And I think he's the best and most athletic player at this position in the draft for them to take.
So let's talk about who we got here going to. I think Tampa's an interesting situation this year. Are we just rebuilding this entire team? Are we going to have just was that it for them? Getting Tom Brady, winning a Super Bowl, having an okay second season. And then what do we think of Tampa Bay? What's the move they're going to make?
Tampa's also another one who I can see trading up to try to get a quarterback. But in my mock, I didn't want to deal with trades because anybody can trade at any point in time. So I actually went with Brian Branch, the safety out of Alabama, because they had so many injuries to their secondary last season. Yep. And even if they don't, their secondary is getting kind of old. And then you have Devin White wanting a trade. So their defense has a lot of different question marks. Branch is so versatile. He can play corner. He can play safety. He can probably scoot in and play linebacker. And he played for Alabama. Like, when are you going to pass up an Alabama defensive back? So I think if they don't trade up, that's who they go for.
Brian Branch is a stud. He's a light you up safety. I'm a big fan. Okay, who do I want to ask you about now? Let's talk tight end here for a minute. Do you agree with me that Michael Mayer is the best tight end of this group, even though he ran a 4.7 in the 40, which a lot of people were banging on him about? I'm like, look at the bod, look at the catches in traffic, look at the 40 times of guys like Rob Gronkowski, which was basically right where Michael Mayer's 40 time is, okay? I got him going to the Lions here, Britt, at number 18. How about you?
So I can see them taking a tight end at 18, and I think that I would agree that Mayer is the most complete tight end in the draft. I wouldn't necessarily say that he is the best because best is subjective and it depends on what you want specifically for your offense. I think the Bengals are a great fit for him. They got rid of, I'm blanking right now. Either way, Hayden Hurst. Yes, thank you. They have some glaring holes there in that spot. If they get rid of Joe Mixon or release him, they're definitely going to need some more blockers. And I think that Michael Mayer fits in perfect there with them. But I don't know. Tight end is just such an up in the air position. He could go anywhere.
So, Britt, we have to talk about Aaron Rodgers and the New York Jets, right? I live in New York. People are very excited here, not just the Knicks lighting it up, but now this move, it's finally done. What's your expectations for what he can put together? He is planning on doing the whole preseason, every activity. He's already moving himself up here, and the commitment is there. I don't know if you got a chance to watch his presser today. What do you think the Jets can do with this season? Because, again, he was asked, will you stay for a second season? And he said delightfully, I just want to really focus on this season. So we know that at the end of the year, we get another kind of great couple episodes on Pat McAfee and the joy of like, what's Aaron Rodgers going to do now? But what do you expect for him in his new home with some comforts of home, having Alan Lazard there, pieces that they've moved to accommodate Aaron Rodgers?
Of course, the Aaron Rodgers Show reality series got renewed for another season with him going to the Jets. I think that he's a great upgrade because obviously the Jets were the worst team in passing and they had a revolving door of quarterbacks there. I think that Garrett Wilson could be a top 5 wide receiver in redraft this season, but the Jets are going to have to keep him upright. He's older. He's not mobile. he's going to have some problems in that AFC East with all those tough defenses. So I think if he's going to do well there, that the Jets need to really shore up that offensive line. And that's probably what they're going to do in the draft. Now, depending who's available, who they take, that's up in the air. But if Rodgers gets knocked on his, throughout the course of the season, I don't know if he will come back. But either way, Garrett Wilson, top 5 wide receiver, book it.
Britt, who is your wide receiver 2 in this draft? Is his name Quentin Johnston? And where would you might have either your wide receiver 2? Well, so I guess who's your wide receiver 2? And then let's go down the Quentin Johnston road here, where you have him. And I'm curious to know if Johnston is not your wide receiver 2, who is?
So I really like Jordan Addison as the wide receiver 2. I mean, he made Kenny Pickett look good. Let's be real there. He won the Biletnikoff Award that year. The only reason he wasn't as productive last season at USC is because he was surrounded by so much talent there in that system. Quentin Johnston was great, and I love that big body, but he's just kind of had a few little iffy situations come up. Like he's interviewed poorly. His combine wasn't that great. How's he going to translate from TCU into an actual NFL system?
That's always a big one. So is this your first time going to the NFL draft?
It is. And I'm so incredibly excited. I'm trying to keep my fangirl on the inside and just keep a cool mask on the outside. But, probably when I get there, I will fangirl a little bit. But yeah, I'm just incredibly excited to be going.
What are you most excited about?
I just want to meet some players. I kind of want to see the entire system. I'm hoping to eavesdrop a little bit on some maybe GMs who are there. And then Fall Out Boy plays tomorrow, who, as a millennial kid, in my heart. So
hey, that's right. There's a concert right after the draft, right? Or is it before?
Yeah, it's right after. So tomorrow is Fall Out Boy. Friday is Motley Crue, who I also love because my dad listened to them incessantly. And Saturday is Thundercats.
Wow, that's a nice variety of music. All right. You know any of these bands, Rick?
I don't know Thundercats.
You've heard of Fall Out Boy, right?
I've heard of them. Don't know much about it. And then what? Motley Crue. I mean, obviously, Britt, I was born in 1969. So Motley Crue in the 80s with the hair bands. I wasn't into the soft metal. I was into the gritty metal, and I still am. And so Motley Crue just had a grit to them. I don't know. I wasn't into Rat and White Snake and White Right and all these
Cinderella
and not Poison.
Cinderella, Poison. I wasn't into
How
all that
about Def Leppard?
I was not into that.
Okay.
Not hard enough for your boy. But anyway, I love me some Motley Crue. Man, have fun, Britt, with that. Who is if you could sit out for 10 minutes with one player and have a one-on-one, which player would that be?
Oh man. That one is a tough one. I think I actually would like Devon Witherspoon.
Oh,
because
wow.
This guy is just a shark and he's a shutdown. And I really want to get into his mentality. How do you see this? I want to know your vision. I want to know all of the things, how you see everything, and just how do you get that killer instinct?
Those are good questions. That's a great answer. Well, you leave tomorrow, and we appreciate you joining us so much. Can you tell everyone in here about you being the host of Her Story and everything else that you work on, Britt Flinn?
Yeah, thank you guys so much for having me. This has been so awesome. Her Story is typically every other Tuesday. We kind of highlight up-and-coming female content creators, contributors, editors, journalists, broadcasters, you name it. With, of course, you, Lisa, and the exception. We want to know the people who are established in the industry and how you got there. And we just kind of hear how they got there. Fantasy Alarm, I do NFL content, and on Lightning Round, same thing. Wednesdays at 9:30 Eastern.
Thank you so much for joining us. Have a great time at the NFL draft. I hope that you enjoy all the shows and you please take a ton of photos. Everybody make sure you follow along because it's like you're going to be at the draft with her. You can follow at Britt_Flinn. And so, it is FLINN. I'm sure people assume it's FLY, right?
All the time. Our family's weird. We spell it phonetically.
Okay, so everyone give a follow and thank you so much for joining us. And right here we get back, we're going to check on Ricky's props, of course, because we got to know what's going on. And I also want to remind you that the Fantasy Alarm NFL All Access Special is Fantasy Alarm has all the fantasy football and betting content you need to prepare for the NFL draft and the upcoming season. Featuring Britt, Flynn's mock draft, rookie scouting reports, NFL team needs, player projections, Discord chat, and more. For a limited time, get the complete NFL package plus DFS playbooks for all sports at an additional 20% off the already discounted annual price with promo code NFL Draft at Fantasy Alarm. The promo code again is NFL Draft at fantasyalarm.com. Lisa Ann and Rick Kamla right here with you on Better Sports Live. We're going to go through your chat. Brittany totally rocked. You are correct. Wendy just joined the room. Rick, I got to meet Wendy last Friday night in Chicago, and it was so awesome. I'll tell you the story when we get back. You're listening to Lisa Ann and Rick Kamla right here on Better Sports Live on the Better Sports Network.
The 5-Pack with Kyle Elfrink, weekdays from 12 to 1 p.m. Eastern on Better Sports Network.
Jalen Hurts has got a new contract. It is 5 years, $255 million. Now, if you follow anything in the NFL, you know the argument is always about guaranteed money. That's why Lamar Jackson's holding out. Lamar Jackson's winning like $230 million guaranteed. Jalen Hurts reportedly is getting $180 million guaranteed. Now that sets a new standard. Lamar Jackson says the standard is Deshaun Watson. The rest of the NFL says it's not. Now the standard is $180 million. So I just want Lamar Jackson to hear this. Jalen Hurts today was more than happy to take $180 million guaranteed. Jalen Hurts has probably not accomplished as much as Lamar Jackson, but in a manner of speaking, and this is just my opinion, Jalen Hurts started from a weaker spot than did Lamar Jackson when he came to the NFL. Both guys were seen as a bit of a project. Both guys were seen as more runner than thrower. To me, Lamar Jackson has improved slightly as a thrower, but is still mostly a runner. Jalen Hurts has improved an incredible amount as a thrower, and he's done it in a lot more of a quick time frame than Lamar Jackson. Jalen Hurts has arrived in the NFL as an unfinished product. It's not finished, but the polishing and the improvement has been off the charts. Much better than Lamar Jackson. And Jalen Hurts more than happy to take $180 million guaranteed. Lamar Jackson not. Lamar Jackson's still holding out. Now, those aren't the only two quarterbacks thinking about money today. Kudos to Jalen Hurts. Lamar Jackson's still pouting. Joe Burrow and Justin Herbert. I will tell you this. At some point in the next month, I would suggest one, if not both those guys, Burrow and Herbert, will do even better than Jalen Hurts in terms of guaranteed money. Because that's what this is about. It's ego. That's what these guys love. He gets 180, Burrow will go 182, and Herbert will go 185. Meanwhile, Lamar Jackson will still be pouting and saying, why am I not getting 230? Maybe he comes to his senses after all this. Who knows? But Eagles get it taken care of. Jalen Hurts signed, sealed, and delivered. A lot of guaranteed money.
Make bets and follow your fantasy team while you buy, sell, and trade collectibles in real time. Only on Better Sports Network.
We are back right here. Lisa Ann and Rick Kamla, Better Sports Live at the Better Sports Network. By the way, Rick, something that could be affecting your prop, and not in a good way. Your RJ Barrett at Cleveland prop might come into play because Julius Randle is out with an ankle injury.
Uh-oh.
This is information that we need right now because you, my friend, were looking for a big Julius Randle game tonight.
Damn it. Barrett's already up to 15. So, yeah, that's going to be an L for us. He's 6 of 7 from the field, man. Cleveland, guys, is stinking up the joint. They're down 73-63 at home. Just when you thought you had some kind of a rough gauge on the 2023 NBA playoffs, this game happened. Not in a million years did I envision Knicks up 11 midway through the third, LA. I'm telling you right now, I told you the Knicks are going to fire tonight. They are going to come for their money. I thought Cleveland was going to be a lot better than this. This is brutal. Donovan Mitchell, LA, is going out in a bad way. 6 of 15. He's got 14 points. He's halfway to our prop, the over on 5.5 assists. So glad I didn't take the over on his points. And I thought about it, but I'm like, this is too easy. It feels like a sucker bet, right? Oh, it's obvious. Donovan Mitchell's going to have a huge game against his hometown team at home facing elimination. It's sometimes it's storybook and it's not reality. And so far, that's how it's playing out.
Yeah, I mean, they haven't been within less than 10 points this entire game. The Knicks are doing it. So in the other side of the globe, let's talk about the Grizzlies just doing it right now. 56-39 over the Lakers. What is going on? 4 minutes and 40 seconds left in the second. I mean, what is happening right now?
Well, the buzzkill for me is that Anthony Davis is looking good so far. 15-8 for Anthony Davis. We went under on his combined points and rebounds prop at 35.5. He's at 23 right now. We're on the wrong side as we sit right now, but we got a long way to go. LeBron James is having the most Dudley game of all time. 3 points, 1 of 7. He's been dreadful. D'Lo is at 1 of 4. They're shooting 2 of 10 from 3. And Memphis, Morant and Bane are doing it. Bane's already got 20.
Bane has 21, bro. I mean, Bane is doing it. When you say dismal, you can add up the rest of the starting lineup minus Davis, and you've got, still less points than what just Desmond Bane has put up already. 21. This kid could go for 45 tonight if he keeps this up.
He might. He had 35 or 36 in the last game, and I kind of thought he'd come back to earth a little bit here after that game. That hasn't worked out. I didn't play a prop on him, but his over was 23.5 LA, and I don't know. I ran the math on it, and it didn't feel savory to me. And again, it's especially coming off a huge game like that. But he's cooking tonight. Jaren Jackson Jr. is not 4 points so far. We got a 14-point game right now. Memphis over LA. Obviously, Memphis is facing elimination. The Lakers are really in a bonus game here, in a greed game, and they're not getting greedy enough, LA.
Well, also, let's face it, they want to win at home. You want to win your game at home. You gotta put that into part of the theory as well at this point. I mean, that's not really the case for the Knicks at this point of the exercise. But as for it's funny, you just yawned. I yawned on the last break. Not something I normally do at this time of the night. I was like, where'd this yawn come out? It's too early to start yawning. You got work to do, kiddo. Like, what's happening? I see you yawn. So I'm sorry. They say it's contagious. Like when one person yawns, someone else does.
The most contagious thing ever.
So you didn't know that I yawned on the break, but that just did happen. What are your expectations for, let's say, round 2? But let's first touch on Miami-Milwaukee. Game starts tonight at 9:30 p.m. And then we got the late game. And like you had said to me, week 2 of the NBA this year, Lisa, Sacramento is going to be a team to watch this year. And you were right.
Sac in Golden State. It's the game of the day, LA. It comes up at 10 o'clock Eastern tonight. All eyes on De'Aaron Fox. He's got an avulsion fracture on the index finger on his left hand or his shooting hand. He's going to play. How effective can he be? Can he shoot? Will he turn the ball over? Does he have to see ball handling duties because it's just not feeling right in his hand? Right. Huge questions. We're 2-2. They have to win tonight, LA. Sacramento. If they lose tonight, the series is over. If they lose tonight, all the momentum will be in Golden State's corner. They're going home for what would look like, I would think, a beatdown at that point. Maybe like a 15-point Golden State win. Sac, thanks for the great season and all the memories. Now go home. They have to win tonight, and I think they're going to play that way. I like Sacramento to win this game, LA, and we talked about it. I like Sabonis over 19.5. I think he's going to have to do more with this Fox injury. I like Malik Monk over 16.5. I'm on Sac tonight. I really am. And also I'm on Klay Thompson over 21.5. Steph is 32.5 LA. If I had to play it, I would go over, but dang, that's a big number. He was under that number in both of the first 2 games. And I have a feeling tonight's game is going to have a more of a defensive tone to it, LA. After the last game was, I think, 126-125. Those things tend to boomerang back, right? Huge offensive game. That next game tends to be a little bit more defensive. So I think that's going to maybe lead to a couple unders tonight.
Man, that was a great last 3 minutes of the last matchup, Warriors Sack. So here's what I do when I'm traveling and I'm doing events. I leave all of the TVs on in the room. So like if 2 games are on one channel, one TV's on that channel, and then I go to the other channel so that when I do get back in, if there's any action on, I get to catch it, right? I can't be sleeping and channel surfing in a foreign TV, right? You don't know the lineup. Sometimes it takes a minute for hotel TVs to like turn on all of this. So I come into the room. There's 2 minutes left. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm just like standing there, like frozen in time. What a great ending to that last matchup. You say Sack takes night, but you ultimately think that Golden State is going to win this series. Am I right?
Negative. I have Sacramento in 7. That was my pre-series prediction. And that's, what I saw is playing out, LA. I saw a home crowd series. Sac win the first 2, Golden State win the next 2, and then pretty much chalky home court from there because Golden State can't win on the road. Sac is a great road team, but they're too young and inexperienced to go into Golden State and beat them. They can go into, Denver and beat them or Phoenix and beat the Suns, with only basically 4 guys, but not Golden State. It's just different. So I don't think Sac would win a game 6. They got to get tonight, and I think they're going to. I think the environment, LA, is going to be spectacular. The crowd eruptions after Sabonis hits a shot, come back, get a stop. Fox with a drive, they come back, they get a stop. They kick Malik Monk 3-ball. And the place goes crazy. Timeout, Steve Kerr, and then they take a commercial break. Like I see a lot of that tonight. I think it's going to be a great piece of basketball theater.
Our friend Jeff has 10 showdown lineups in the late game. So that's how into that game he is. And our friend Byron, who's a diehard Lakers fan, believes that Lakers are a second half team. So what Byron is saying right now is this score that we're looking at, the current status means nothing. Lakers have already picked up the momentum. They're only down by 10. Right now, the Grizz lead 58-48.
Yeah, we got a long way to go here for sure. We're not even at halftime. And, as I look, the Lakers are now within 9. LeBron James has got to get it going, LA. He does. Anthony Davis already has a double-double. This is so frustrating, LA. Can I explain something to you?
Please.
I'm
all ears.
We're
all ears right here.
I was going to go over on Anthony Davis today because that's the pattern of what he's been doing, right? Was going to go over, went into the whole process thinking over. And the reason I went under here is because, first of all, the math, the data supports an under here from Anthony Davis. And he still may go under. But he's just that guy. When I bet on him, he foils me. So he's probably just to stay away from me going forward. Because then when I bet against him, he's like, aha, Cam, I'll show you. You bet against me tonight, so I'll just go ahead and flex and be the Hall of Fame version of myself. But when I actually need him to be, LA, I'm telling you, if I would have bet on him tonight and released his over on 35.5 points and rebounds, he'd already be in foul trouble or, oh, ouch, my hip is hurting. Oh, I got a boo-boo. I got to go to the locker room. This guy is vexing to your boy Cam, okay? Vexing.
I feel that, man. I truly feel that. I can see that with you.
Do you have those people, those teams that you just can't party with because when it's up, it's down. When it's down, it's up. Do you have those teams and those players, LA?
Oh, it's always players. Like, let's talk about season-long fantasy. Like, you have this player that you can't play every week, and you play them in the wrong times or you don't play them. You know what I mean? Like, I totally get it.
Yes.
By the way, you're getting a lot of apologies. Everyone feels fine for you. 35 points in the first half already. He feels bad for you that you didn't take that play. So what do you see for round 2? We know that Philadelphia gets a little bit more rest, which must have been, great. You're trying to kind of relax from constant games. You see Trae Young put that on last night, and you're like, oh, we get an extra 2 nights rest. We don't have to play.
It's apparently huge. I initially thought this was load management. They're up 3-0. Let's just win this one without Embiid. But, he's not practicing. They've had MRIs. So, this does appear to be an actual knee sprain. I'll say this, LA. Woj, or should I say Daryl Morey, by way of Woj, really threw us off with his report. Joel Embiid's going to miss game 4 with a sprained knee, but there's optimism that he'll be able to come back early next week. What are we doing here, bro? What the hell does that mean? How can you have a knee sprain, an actual knee sprain, and then maybe you're coming back in like 3 days?
Well, they could
not how this works.
But they could do enough, like Band-Aid situation, when it comes to all the treatments that he can get, some injections that will, help that PCP, whatever they're doing, like spinning blood. You can do all these different things now to reduce that inflammation and make it playable. It doesn't mean he's going to be playable for 14 days, but he could get back on it for another 7. So I could see that that's like, let's shut it down right now. Then he sees the Hawks pull off the win. He knows he gets even more rest. It seems even more optimistic that Embiid gets to be back out there.
100%. There's no doubt about it. I'm just saying it was a real load management-y tweet by Woj, right? He ain't playing today, but there's optimism he's going to come back early next week. So like, they're freaking load managing Embiid in game 4. At the end of the day, it doesn't matter. They beat Brooklyn. They've got a long rest here. Boston has not handled their business, LA. They took Atlanta lightly last night. They had an 11-point lead with like 6 minutes to go at TD Garden. LA, you have to go in for the kill at that point, okay? Boston should have covered that game last night. The line was, 12.5, whatever it was. You had Atlanta right where you wanted them, and you let them off the hook. And Trae Young obviously hit a heater and was fabulous. Your defense was really lame and sloppy and dumb on him. And I'm not talking about that Jaylen Brown play. I'm talking about others, like when Marcus Smart ran him over. Remember that at the end of that game? It was such a dumb play by Marcus Smart. So I don't know. It was like a weird departure, LA, from the team that I have picked to win it all. And obviously I'm still a believer in that. It was like, who is this team? This is not the team I picked to win it all. But I think we're going to see Boston really fire tomorrow night in Atlanta. I think they're going to be like, enough of this. We got to end this party now. And we got to go buzzkill 2 Chainz and Candy from the Housewives and Anderson Cooper and all the other stars that are going to be at State Farm Arena in downtown Atlanta, right next to CNN.
I'm trying to find, okay, here we go. Finally got a story. So I was trying to look up for an update. So it looks like Julius Randle is doubtful to return after injuring his ankle.
Wow. So the plot really thickens here, LA. And I'm obviously working with you here. So let me, I got to know, is it a re-injury of the same ankle?
Yeah, that's what I'm going to look for right now. You do a little talking because it's never good. Injury occurred within the 1 minute, 26 seconds of the second quarter. Landed awkwardly after going up to contest a shot from Cavs swingman Karis LeVert. After the Cavs collected the rebound, LeVert hit his next shot. Randall stayed on the ground for several moments holding his ankle. Does not give the injured the ankle. Yes. So look, this has to be the same ankle because they says Randall originally injured the ankle on March 29th in the win over Miami Heat. So there we go. It's the same ankle. I'm putting 2 and 2 together. Thank you, ESPN, for the news report. But I think we're missing that detail, but I think I got it.
So Randall is contesting a shot. It looked like Karis LeVert, and he came down, I think maybe on LeVert's foot. I have the Lakers and the Grizzlies game up right now. I can't tell from this angle if he landed on LeVert's foot, but it is a re-aggravation of the
he walked himself right off. I'm watching it right now. He walked himself right back there. He was like, I know where I need to go, and it's not out here. That is not great for Knicks fans. And mind you, it would be heartbreaking if they were at MSG tonight, right? It's still hard. You're on the road. But I believe that this Friday night game is, I think this entire city is going to be rocking on Friday night.
There's no doubt about it. I don't know about that, LA, because what if the Knicks win tonight? Then the series is over, and there may not be that MSG party. The Knicks are up 15 right now, late third, minute 40 to go in the third. The Cavaliers side of this is just shocking and ugly and despicable. It really is. I mean, I can't believe they're going out like this. Absolutely brutal to get smoked at home in a do or die game when most people had you winning the series. Like, they are going out like chumps, LA, and especially Donovan Mitchell, 6 of 17 from the field. And I'm a Donovan Mitchell truther. I'm an apologist, a defender. You know how hard this is going to be for me to go on NBA radio tomorrow? Like,
well, what's great about
I
this
said the Knicks needed to trade for him, right?
Yeah, here's what's great about this is as the news stories have gone back and forth at the beginning of this season to now, it's been, the Knicks are going to truly regret that they didn't trade for him, and
I was
now
one of those guys.
One of those guys. But so let's touch on some other storylines in the NBA. The Rockets hire a former Celtics coach, Ime Udoka, as the head coach. How did this happen? Wasn't there something that was not right that happened and that's why he got fired? How does he get another job this fast?
Okay, so boy, is this a long story. I'm going to try to abbreviate as much as I can and give you the Cliff Notes version. So he's a Boston rookie head coach, kills it. Okay, they go all the way to the NBA Finals. First year as a rookie coach, head coach, amazing stuff, right? They lose the finals, and so he allegedly had consensual relations with a female employee with the team.
But he's married.
But he's married. Okay, so morally, there's obvious major issues here. Okay,
even though it was consensual, we still call it affair, and allegedly we add on as well. Yes,
yeah, no doubt about it. No doubt. So it's allegedly extramarital stuff. Okay,
sure.
So Boston, citing their rule book, he crossed some line that they have in their rule book, and
obviously,
So, well, I think there are some teams that if that happened would not have fired him. Okay, and I'm not saying.
Oh, I do not agree. In today's temperature, no. I believe that no matter what, no matter where you're working, I truly believe that no matter what, he would have been fired in today's temperature.
Okay, that's fine. I guess it's kind of a moot point at this point. He got suspended the whole year. He got bounced from Boston. Obviously, Joe Mazzulla's taken over, and he's been fantastic as well. And so now Ime gets another chance. Now LA, there was the Brooklyn Nets entertaining hiring Ime Udoka, and they might have done that. However, there were female employees, I believe executives with the Nets, who said, no. We don't want this happening with our team, with what he allegedly did up in Boston.
Sure.
Not here, not on our watch. And they did not.
We've got enough chaos. We're the Brooklyn Nets. We've got a bunch of stars that do nothing. We've got chaos here. No one wants to be here. Please don't bring drama into here. Yes.
Exactly.
Smart move on their part.
And Durant and Irving were still on that team at the time.
Yep.
Okay, so they promote Jacques Vaughn to head coach, and they sign him and extend him, and he did a terrific job with them this year, with the exception of his lack of deployment of Cam Thomas. Jacques Vaughn, what the hell? But now Ime goes to Houston. I believe it's a great fit for Ime because he's got a job again, LA, right?
Sure.
A lot of doors, I'm sure, have been closed to him for the obvious reasons that we talked about. He found a door that was open for him. And he goes to a young team. They're not going to win next year, but there's also no expectations. And so he gets to go down there and coach under the radar, do his thing. He's a defensive-minded coach on a team that's horrible defensively. So he's got a chance to look like a hero if he can go down there and upgrade that side of the court. So it's a really good spot for Ime. It's a really good spot for Houston because they need kind of a kick-ass and take names and boot in the butt accountability coach for their young guys. This is a guy that was able to hold Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown and Marcus Smart accountable, okay? I believe he's going to be able to really connect with the young players in Houston, and I like the hire. I really do.
Well, I'm going to say something that I was taught when I was very young. Simple expression. I'm sure you've heard it before. Don't shit where you eat.
There you go.
Hopefully he takes this like, hey, you got a lifeline. You got a second chance. And you know what? That no from Brooklyn was good for him because this is how we operate now. This is inappropriate behavior. You know what the guidelines are. You're married. Nobody needs the drama. All of it's no good, no good, no good. So getting that no probably reminded him again. And hopefully he'll be on his best behavior in Houston. The Bucks on the verge of elimination. The Heat lead the series 3-1. How quick will the Bucks be gone?
I think the Bucks are winning this series, LA. How do you
There's
like
a lot of games left, bro. You just gave us a ton of more games. You just gave me more games to watch. Like, wow, you just gave me more hoops back. Thank you. We gotta go.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
Is that because Giannis can return, or will Giannis still not be playing?
No, Giannis is he came back for the last game. He will play tonight, and I think he's going to play well. I think, like I said on NBA radio today, it's got to be a Hulk smash game. I don't care about Giannis walls. I don't care about your back. I don't care. Okay, go seek and destroy. Okay, we're talking about 38 points, 16 rebounds, 6 assists. Okay, Wilt Chamberlain. He needed to be Wilt Chamberlain in game 4. And he wasn't. He was Magic Johnson, had a 26-point triple-double. That's cool, bro, but you picked the wrong night to be Magic Johnson. Your team needed you to throttle down at Miami and put a halt to this whole Jimmy Butler eruption. How about you guard him? Giannis is, and I love Giannis, but we're being critical here. Giannis is, arguably the best defensive player in the entire NBA. Why aren't you guarding Jimmy Butler, bro? He's having a supernova 56-point game, the 4th most points in the history of the NBA playoffs. Where are you? Okay, this has to be a mega game from Giannis Antetokounmpo. There's no other option, and I think they're going to win tonight. They're going to go to Miami and win Game 6. Then they're going to come back and win Game 7 up in Milwaukee.
Wow, that's a lot of winning they have to do, but it's not impossible. Yeah. It's not impossible. I know Jeff will probably be able to help me out here today. While we were both listening to McAfee, which we do every day, someone came on. And he was talking stats and numbers. It was a great spot. I'm so sorry I can't give him credit. I'm hoping Jeff can help me out here. I was on a walk running some errands, so I couldn't write it down. Moving forward, though, I need to be better. I should stop, put the notes in my phone. What he said was he looked up LeBron James' age. He looked up Wilt Chamberlain. He did this reverse thing on birth date. And then he did the reverse thing on when somebody would be conceived. And believe it or not, LeBron James, it narrowed it down to LeBron James being conceived on the day that Wilt Chamberlain broke that record.
What? Are you serious?
It's bizarre. I should have written down who said it. It was the most bizarre thing.
That's awesome.
I can tell you, I was right outside of Central Park. I was doing my one loop, and I had to stop and think, like, who would know to look up something like this? And it's moments like this when I'm listening to other people's shows where I say to myself, you are awful at what you do. I mean, how do these people have all this other good information? That was brilliant. But yeah, that brought me right to there. Okay, so you think the Bucks can get this out? I mean, Butler played so well last night or 2 nights ago. But this would be great. 3 more games. Like, wow, but the Bucks are going to be tired because they're going to have to fight with everything they have to be able to win this series.
The Knicks right now, at the end of the 3rd quarter, lead Cleveland 88-77. Who knows? We could get a comeback. The Knicks have controlled this entire basketball game, even losing Julius Randle in the process. Cleveland, to me, is just kind of going out lame right now. We'll see. They got a 4th quarter to make it right. They're down 11. It's not over. It looks like the Knicks are going to...
Hold on 1 second. Thank you, Jeff. He was conceived when Kareem broke the record, allegedly. It was Kareem. So I didn't even have the story right. This is why I need to start putting notes in my phone. But I know Jeff was listening too, because whenever I'm listening to McAfee, I know Jeff and I are collecting the same data. Like my 25 friends that all listen to the show every day, we all have the same data in our head. It was great. But okay, back to you.
I love that. So it looks like...
The Knicks are going to take it, even without Randall, which is great, right? Get it done. Get yourselves some rest. All that's great. I'll get to go to bed early on Friday, maybe. But I really was looking forward to going to the game.
We still may have one, 11-point game. We still might. But ultimately, it looks like the Knicks are going to win this series. LA, when you go up 3-1 in an NBA best-of-7 series, you have, historically, a 95% chance of winning that series. So the Milwaukee Bucks, I am saying, are going to be in the 5 percentile.
I was just going to say that. So the Bucks are going to be in the 5 percentile because you believe that's how good Giannis is and that's how much better the Bucks are when Giannis is on the court.
Bingo. And the Heat don't have Tyler Hero. The Heat don't have Victor Oladipo. No. The Heat have a ragtag, old and about to be retired version of Kyle Lowry. Okay. They just don't have a lot. Jimmy Butler has to freak out for them to win or even hang in games. Okay. Can he keep that up? I'm going to bet against that.
I agree. The Suns eliminated the Clippers in another year of disappointment for LA. What can the Clippers do, moving forward to get out of this bad luck spot? They kind of remind me of the Los Angeles Chargers. You see these great games and then in the last 3 minutes, they lose the game. You got a great quarterback. You have great pieces. You make bad decisions. It's bad clock management. It's bad timeout calling. It's all, by the way, Steph Curry calling a timeout when they didn't have one the other night made my day because I was like, he is not perfect. And that was a mistake, you know, it was just a mistake, but it hurt them tidbit from a game a couple of nights ago. But I remember seeing that thinking like, all right, I thought Curry like had the clock in his head, you know, but that's a mistake. But so what do you think the Clippers are going to do this offseason? A lot's going to ride on what Kawhi decides to do, whether, like you said, he gets surgery, those types of things. But meniscus, how long is the recovery from meniscus?
You need to have surgery to determine that. You know what I'm saying? And, the doctors, they're doing MRIs. That's how they determine he's got a torn meniscus. So sometimes it needs to be cut. And then if it gets cut, they either remove the injured part or they repair the injured part. And when you remove it, you can come back quicker, but then you lose that element of brake pad right there. And so if it's bad, right? You talk about, that soft tissue keeps the bone from going on the bone. If you repair the meniscus, don't remove it, but repair it, that's a longer rehab process. He's got the whole off season. So I think they would take the long haul approach with this. Again, I don't know the severity of it. I don't know if he's going to have surgery or not. In LA, some people may be saying, like, are you a doctor? Like, no, I'm not a doctor, but I tore my ACL. So
you've also been covering this and talking to doctors and having people on the air. And this has been part of your protocol of knowing like, hey, as soon as I know what the choice is that the player and the team decide they're going to do about this, then I can project because I've seen this for however many years. You've been doing this so long, right? It's like routine to you. But removing it for an NBA player is probably harder than any other sport because you're constantly remember when you had to run suicides in gym class? That's what it's like to be on the basketball court. Stop and go, stop and go, stop and go. You need that, as you called it, great way, brake pad.
You got to have it. And you're right, LA. Like it's just following injuries over the years, right? Being able to compare the De'Aaron Fox avulsion fracture on his index finger to Kobe Bryant's avulsion fracture on his index finger, which, by the way, quick story, I almost ruined Kobe's hand, LA. So he's got this avulsion fracture on his right index finger, right? And it's at the 2010 NBA All-Star game in Dallas. I'm in the arena, right outside the tunnel, and he comes out with his family, and I hear Kamla like that. And I'm like, is somebody mad at me? Because it was like kind of a bellowing voice, right? And I didn't know who it was. And I see sort of a throng of people come out of the tunnel. And as they emerge from the darkness, it's Kobe Bryant and Vanessa and his daughters and the whole thing, right? And he has a huge smile on his face. And he puts his hand out like this, like, to come in for like a half hug or bro hug or whatever, right? Some dap.
He's gonna dap you up.
And so I go like this, like it's Kobe, right? Oh my God. And so I go like this, and right here, LA, I see this wrap on the end of his index finger. And I checked up and like kind of gave him a soft handshake. I'm like, Kobe, I ain't trying to re-injure your finger. And he fell out laughing about that. Kobe won a ring that year with a mangled index finger, man. It's like the craziest thing ever. And LA, me and Amin Hassan interviewed Gary Vitti, the trainer for the Lakers. Vitti explained that Kobe had to relearn how to shoot. Okay, because when you gooseneck the ball, it comes off your index and middle finger. He couldn't do it with his index finger anymore. He had to change the way he released his shot so that it ended on his middle finger, and he created a contraption to get the fingers together and everything. It's just fascinating stuff, man. But that dude, gotta miss Kobe Bryant, man.
I got two takeaways here. Number one, you would have been disliked as much as Larry David was when he tripped Shaq at that Lakers game on curve. Number two, I had to retrain my whole shot when I decided to start going with longer nails.
There you go.
Much harder to shoot. The release is so different. It can get really
Do you have to push it more? Do you have to push it more now? Almost like a shot put to not follow through totally because of the nails?
You have to dribble with more of an open hand. I had to relearn the whole game, but don't worry. I've been working on it. We're going to get to a quick break. We've got a guest joining us at 9:00. We're going to go back to our football conversation covering the NFL draft. I want to hear from all of you in the room. By the way, Dylan just threw up another brick. That's what we want to hear. We want to hear from you What's the draft pick that you are looking forward to the most tomorrow night? Whether it's your team, whether it's a player that you followed in their college career. But I think that'll give us some really good banter. We're going to be joined by Eric Balkman of High Stakes Fantasy Football Show right here on the network, and co-host of the show with Leo and Balky on 95.3 and 99.1 in Wisconsin. We'll get to him. We'll talk to all of you, Lisa and Rick Kamla, right here, Bettor Sports Live on the Bettor Sports Network.
Front Yard Fantasy, weekdays at 3 Eastern on Bettor Sports Network.
Our great friend, Britt, Flinn with Fantasy Alarm, and as the host of the Lightning Round podcast and the Herstory pod with Women of Fantasy Football.
Austin Knox, what happened to him this year?
Man, fell off.
Right? It's just gone. It's disappeared off the face of the map. You think Austin Knox can put together a comeback campaign here?
Man, I don't know. I think that kind of some of the Gabe Davis hype and a little bit of that system change took away his targets. And I think that they're probably going to go out there and get a legit wide receiver too. So I'm not really expecting him to bounce back like he did 2 years ago.
I think he's fine. I think he lives in the glob of tight ends. Know what I mean? Like he's not going to get better, but he's probably not going to get worse. And if you need a guy to plug in your roster who's got a shot at a touchdown, you grab Dawson Knox in that Bills offense. And
that's a good point too. Like there's Travis Kelce and then there's basically everybody else. A glob of tight ends was such an accurate description.
Yeah,
he is firmly in that glob for me.
Firmly in the glob.
It was a little bit disappointing this year. He didn't take that step up, but now he has cemented himself as, I'm not trying to project a breakout for Dawson Knox. There's some safety in what he's going to provide, and you can stream him pretty much any given week if you want to.
Jones gets hit, throws it left, caught by Slayton, down the left sideline, 15, 10, 5, touchdown Giants! Darius Slayton!
Speaking of Darius Slayton, how are we feeling about this New York Giants wide receiving core this upcoming year? I think a lot of question marks there.
Yeah, it's pretty much garbage right now, but if they were able to do it last season with what they had, I think Waller's going to open up a lot of different possibilities and avenues. So who knows? They could still be good, but I think they're going to invest heavily in the draft in some bona fide receivers.
I think so too. You think you guys think Sterling Shepard or Darius Slayton can make their way to fantasy relevance this year?
I can't see anything happening with Shepard after an ACL and then an Achilles. I mean, that's just seems almost insurmountable, and it really sucks because I love his story. Slayton, maybe. But if they go out and get somebody in the draft, I don't really think so.
So when the hell did Sterling Shepard turn 30? I just feel like he's still 26.
On his birthday.
Oh, thanks, Joey. But he's the kind of player, it's probably because we haven't seen maybe complete seasons get put together with the level of hype that we've had for Sterling Shepard in the past, that it doesn't, I don't view him as a failure. You know what I mean? We see some of these players in the NFL and it feels like they've gotten older even though they're not performing. I just view him as hasn't broken out yet, but he's 30 years old. It's probably not happening.
Make bets and follow your fantasy team while you buy, sell, and trade collectibles in real time. Only on Bettor Sports Network.
We are back right here, Lisa and Rick Kamla on Bettor Sports Live. As we promised, we bring you Eric Balkman, who you can follow at Eric Balkman, host of the High Stakes Fantasy Football Show right here on Bettor Sports Network, co-host of the show with Leo and Balky on 95.3, 99.1 in Wisconsin. Eric, thanks so much for joining us tonight.
Oh, thanks for having me. Pleasure to be here.
Eric, we know we got the life-changing event that starts tomorrow, which is the NFL draft. We will be obsessing over it. We'll be looking at how it maps out for teams. We'll be deciding which players are going to be on our best ball leagues, which players are going to land in our redraft leagues. But before that, we know what's happened in New York. The Jets finally land Aaron Rodgers. I want to ask you, do you think Aaron Rodgers can take this team further, which was more than the Jets fans expected last season, than they went last season?
Yeah, can he, Lisa? Definitely he can. Will he? I'm not so sure. And the reason is not necessarily an indictment on Aaron Rodgers. I think that thumb injury that he suffered against the Giants last year that he gutted through really took a lot away from what he could have been, what the Packers offense could have been last year. So I don't really, he was coming off a down year, but I think it's more due to injury than anything else. That thumb's healed now. The history of 40-year-old quarterbacks in the NFL is not great. You had Brett Favre, who had a couple of good years. Warren Moon actually had a really good year as well. Outside of that, if your name's not Tom Brady, you probably didn't play well in your 40s. Aaron Rodgers, I think, is going to have a good season with the Jets this year. I think he's got a really good team around him, not to mention the defense on the other side of the football. Yeah. What I question with Rodgers is the division and the conference that he moves to now. You have the Philadelphia Eagles in the NFC that look like the class of the conference. And the Niners always seem to figure a way to do some damage in the playoffs. Outside of that, Cowboys, Giants, Vikings. I mean, to me, you got a lot of, I don't want to call them fake teams, but maybe fake Super Bowl contenders in the NFC. Over in the AFC, I mean, my God, you got to deal with Patrick Mahomes, the Chargers, obviously on the come up right now too. With Kellen Moore running that offense, you have Joe Burrow and the Bengals. I would think Lamar Jackson and the Ravens are going to figure it out, so he'll be there as well. I like the Sean Payton add to Denver. I think he helps Russell Wilson bounce back this year. That's all outside his division. In his own division, he's got to deal with Josh Allen and the Buffalo Bills. I really like what Mike McDaniel's doing in Miami, obviously, and if Tua Tagovailoa stays healthy there, the Dolphins are going to be a tough team this year. So I think while he probably is with a better team in New York, and I think they do much better this year with Rodgers at quarterback than they had with Zach Wilson, I just don't know how far the team and how deep they can get to the Super Bowl. Now, it just matters, just get to the playoffs and anything can happen. But my goodness, the gauntlet for the Jets to make it to the Super Bowl this coming year with all those other great AFC teams, I don't know if it's going to happen.
Eric, who emerges as the number one wide receiver for the Green Bay Packers? Will it be Aaron Rodgers' guy, Allen Lazard, in what seemingly is a package deal? Will it be Garrett Wilson, who is the more talented and more highly drafted wide receiver? They have Mecole Hardman as well. They may take somebody in the draft here. So who do you is it Garrett Wilson to you, or are you looking at Lazard?
I think it's Wilson. And I think if you look at how FFPC drafters have been handling this Jets situation, to me, Rick, they've already been like the whole offseason. Like the FFPC, we've had drafts going on since January. And really ever since then, these high stakes drafters have been selecting Garrett Wilson as if Aaron Rodgers was already going to be there. At least the quarterback play would be much more improved than what it was last year with Zach Wilson. I think Garrett Wilson is going to have a fantastic season with Aaron Rodgers. I do think Allen Lazard is a little bit underrated, much in the same way he was underrated in Green Bay. That guy is, to me, clearly, inarguably a top 5 blocking wide receiver in the NFL. He does that so well. And what happens, we don't get points for that, but what happens, he's out on the field a ton. And you don't know if Allen Lazard is out there. You don't necessarily know if that's a giveaway, if it's going to be a running play or a passing play that you would get with Mecole Hardman's out there. You pretty much know, and he's running a 9 route, right? And it's going to be a passing play. So I think Allen Lazard is sneaky. You could definitely get him in the mid rounds right now. I don't necessarily know if I would count on him in a best ball league because I don't know how many spike weeks he's going to give you. But Garrett Wilson's going to be an absolute beast this year. I think Lazard is a little bit underrated as far as depth goes. Sure, pick him up because I think he's going to have a solid season. But man, Garrett Wilson is if it's possible, Rick, he's even going to go higher in FFPC high stakes drafts now.
Wow.
Oh, we're joined by Britt Flinn, who feels that he could go as top 5 wide receiver. So that's some money in the bank right there. You mentioned Miami. We're talking to Eric Balkman. Follow at Eric Balkman. You mentioned Miami. Miami already shored up their backup with Mike White, just preventative for Tua. We saw Tua come on. When he's healthy, he's great. Miami doesn't get a pick in the first round of this draft. Does that have any impact, or do you think that Miami's sitting pretty? Tyreek fit in really well there last year. Again, Tua had big games. Mike White's a great backup. What's your outcome for Miami, who's going to be the first team missing out on a pick in a first round over a situation?
It's interesting because I think they're still trying to do something on offense, and that something might be a trade involving Dalvin Cook to come to the from the Vikings to come to the Dolphins. I think there's a non-zero chance of that happening, which would really give Jalen Waddle and Tyreek Hill a lot of free reign to run wild in those secondaries. Mike Gesicki moved on to New England. I think his absence and his departure is a little bit overrated because, you got to be able to block in Mike McDaniel's offense, and Mike Gesicki is just not a blocker. So he moves on. I don't know how many more targets that frees up with Waddle and Hill, but they're going to be beasts again this coming year. You add, even if you don't get Cook, I like Mostert and I like Wilson there. I think that they can do enough to get the job done. Probably need to improve the offensive line a little bit. They're chasing Buffalo right now. I think Bradley Chubb, when he came over from Denver last season, didn't really live up to expectations, or at least my expectations of what I thought he was going to be on that defense. I think he bounces back this year. I think he has a really solid season, full year with Miami now, and full offseason with them. So I like the Dolphins. I think that they are a fringe playoff team. I think they are clearly behind the Buffalo Bills, and they do need to make some adjustments, and they got to improve in the draft somehow. They got to get some difference makers, whether that's on special teams or whether that's on the defensive side of the football. They have some ammo. I don't know if it's enough to get them into, a top 4, top 5 team in the AFC, but they're going to do their darndest, and I think they got a really good coach there.
Eric, let's talk NFL draft here. Where do you want to see Bijan Robinson go? The top running back in this draft. We're all Eric, I don't know how much college football you watch. I watch all the games every Saturday. I've been enamored with this guy for 2 years. I've been waiting on this dude to come to the league for 2 years, man. So here we go. I presume tomorrow night we're going to find out his new team. I think he will be a first-round pick. So where do you want him to go? Where do you think he will go?
Well, I'll start with the latter. I think that he will indeed go to Atlanta, which seems to be everybody's popular pick right now. Arthur Smith is a guy who loves tight ends and he loves running the football, at least with what we saw in Tennessee was any guide. And he's going to get the opportunity. I think Bijan Robinson falls to 8. I think that, he goes there. He's already, Rick, a top 10 pick in redraft leagues in the FFPC. That's not going to change. As far as his dynasty outlook, I think it would be intriguing to see him go to Detroit because I just don't think that the Lions believe that Swift is ever going to be a 3-down guy.
Neither do I, Eric. Neither do I.
Yeah, and they're seeing him like every day. So I trust your judgment, Rick. I trust their judgment too. And for whatever reason, I have him in a couple of dynasty leagues. I've been ticked off, but I understand why he's not out on the field more. So I think Detroit would be interesting. I think ultimately, and this is probably a pipe dream, but he asked me what team I want him to go to. My God, Rick, if he could fall all the way to 28 and have the Bengals scoop Bijan Robinson up, obviously at that point, we know that Joe Mixon's time is probably done in Cincinnati, but you get Bijan Robinson in that backfield, an offensive line that I think underperformed last year. I think it's going to be better this year. Along with Jamar Chase, they're going to figure out a way to get T. Higgins out there. Tyler Boyd's still there. And Joe Burrow. I mean, that is a monolithic offense that all of a sudden you have there, Bijan Robinson, and he's going to have a lot of opportunities to score a lot of touchdowns there. I don't think it's going to happen, but if the slide starts, you never know. I'd love to see him go to Cincinnati.
Well, Eric, you're in Wisconsin, but it seems to be that you are a Cincinnati Bengals fan. Am I correct?
No. I am a fan is short for fanatic. I am not a fanatic for the Packers, but the Green Bay is definitely my team.
Yeah, they kind of have to be your team.
Right.
So we're looking at, Bryce Young going number 1, seeing some other quarterbacks. What team in the first round, what do you think you're going to see the earliest trade up for a pick?
I think, number 2 is not out of the question. If not number 2, I could see number 3. So I could see, we're getting it's the week before the draft, is sort of when this nonsense started. You don't know what to believe and what not to believe. The Texans, if they pass on, a quarterback, whether that be Levis or Stroud or Richardson or whatever, they pass on a quarterback there. I could definitely see somebody moving up to grab him. Obviously the Colts, if they want to trade up from 4 to 2 to make sure they get their guy, I could definitely see that. If a quarterback doesn't go off the board at 2, assuming we see Bryce Young go number 1, and then Houston decides to keep their pick, and then they choose, Will Anderson or somebody like that. And then all of a sudden the market for number 3 becomes white hot because, the Cardinals aren't taking a quarterback there, and somebody else could trade up and get their choice of 3 other quarterbacks. So I think it could be early. I think the draft really starts at the 2nd position, unless you believe this anonymous poster on Reddit who said Will Levis is going to be the number 1 pick by the Panthers because that's what he's telling his family and friends. I don't know. I leave that up to the viewers to decide. But I think the draft really starts at 2. I think that we will see at least 1 trade within the top 5, and we might see 2 trades within the top 10.
Oh, that's fun.
It's going to be a great night. It's going to be a great first round for sure.
Very interesting. Eric, who is your tight end 1 and where do you have him going?
I've gone back and forth on this, especially with Green Bay trading up in this Aaron Rodgers trade to move up from 15 to 13. They're going to have the opportunity, I think, if they decide to go tight end in the first round, they're going to have their pick between Michael Mayer and Dalton Kincaid. Initially, for me, Rick, like back in December or January, when I really started looking at this, I'm like, well, it's obviously Michael Mayer. This dude is super young, and what he did at Notre Dame from a statistical standpoint at that young age, we don't often see that, right? And to me, I was like, okay, Mayer's the pick. Mayer at the same time, athletically speaking, I know he improved his relative athletic score at his Notre Dame Pro Day, but at the Combine, it wasn't great, Bob. And you have a situation with Michael Mayer doing a lot of things very good, but nothing at an elite level, which is always concerning when you're talking about soaking a top 15 pick into a player, right? Well, Dalton Kincaid is an elite pass catcher, right? And the stuff that he was able to do at Utah, I think really wowed people. The stuff that he was able to do, having, basically a fractured back, where he, he's dealing with that last year. And he actually, from what I've known or what I've read and what I've heard, it sounds like that back is fully healed. I do think it's kind of weird that he had some surgeon or doctor send a memo out to all 32 teams saying, hey, this guy's back is good. He has no, restrictions on this at all. That's like a methinks thou doth protest too much. Like if you're sending that out, like, okay, just let the teams figure out if they
evaluate.
Think
right. They've done this before. You know what I mean?
Exactly. Yeah. So I kind of gone back and forth. I think because of the age, I think Kincaid's almost 2 full years older than Michael Mayer. I think, guys, if I'm going to if I'm the GM of a team, I think I like Michael Mayer better. However, if I'm the GM of a dynasty fantasy football team, I like the upside more with Dalton Kincaid. I think his ceiling is higher. Even though he is older, I would probably draft Kincaid in a fantasy league. But, man, if I'm the GM of the team, I think Michael Mayer is going to be a really good pick.
Eric, we know the Philadelphia Eagles made it all the way to the Super Bowl. I still blame a lot of this on the sod father. I'm still bitter.
I know a lot of people who agree with you, Lisa.
I'm still on this heat. I've followed every single story. It was the field was trash, and Arizona has a great field. No players have ever complained about it before. But beside that, the Eagles made it this far. I thought Bijan would be the perfect pick for Philadelphia, but it doesn't seem like Bijan's still going to be there. What move do you think Philadelphia should make to shore up getting back to the Super Bowl again this year? I'm a Cowboys fan. Doesn't feel good to have this kind of honest conversation, but they have a much greater chance than my Dallas Cowboys do. Because you called my Cowboys, I think, like
they're a fake contender.
Fake team.
Yeah. I mean, the thing is, obviously, Green Bay Packer fan. Mike McCarthy is coaching the team right there. So there is some connection to it. I think Dallas has, probably their best defense they've had in quite a while. I'm not really sure what happened on offense last year. I'm a little bit nervous about if they're putting too much stock into Tony Pollard. I would expect them, the Cowboys, to go after a running back in this draft to help supplement that. And maybe Ezekiel Elliott comes back. I don't know what's going to happen there. You asked about the Eagles. I'll tell you this. Never underestimate Howie Roseman in this draft. That dude wheels and deals all over the place. I could see them trading up to grab a player that they really want. I think the Bijan Robinson thing, if he was able to go to Philly, man, I'd love that too. The issue with that is the Eagles historically like to use a running back by committee. So that kind of neuters Bijan Robinson's value a little bit. And then the other thing too is how many starters did they lose on defense to free agency? I mean, they got to really replenish what they have on defense. So I could see them, getting a pass rusher, getting a defensive lineman. Certainly, I think you could look at potentially a corner there as well. I don't know. I don't think Devon Witherspoon will still be there, but Christian Gonzalez might. So I could see that. The other guy I think that would be kind of interesting there is Nolan Smith, a guy who A lot of people said before the 2022 NFL draft that Nolan Smith would have been a top 5 pick. He wasn't eligible to come out, so he had to stay in Georgia another year. And what happens, stays at Georgia, wins a national championship, but he tears his pec halfway through the season. He's recovering from that right now. Nolan Smith is an interesting guy in the fact that I think he's kind of a hybrid player. I don't think you can just count on this guy as an edge rusher every play. I don't know how good he is in coverage. But I think he is fungible enough, especially with how that Eagles defense works. I think he'd be an interesting guy for Philly to take and just kind of like move him all over, sort of like Hassan Reddick a little bit, and just, weaponize this guy and, hide his weaknesses, accentuate his strengths, and he could be a real difference maker on the Philadelphia defense. I think Eagles fans would be pretty happy with Nolan Smith.
That's who, Eric, I am mocking to the Eagles at number 10. I've got Nolan Smith. Going to them. I've got Brian Branch, the safety out of Alabama, going to they need a safety in this first round. That is one need that Philadelphia actually has. Their roster is pretty much bad to the bone and airtight with that exception. Is Jackson Smith-Njigba, Eric, your number 1 wide receiver in this draft? And if not, who is? And where do you have JSN going in this draft?
Yeah, he is for sure. I always go back to this, that this guy was breaking Ohio State receiving records and Big Ten receiving records, not this past year, but 2 years ago, which is more impressive because he had 2 first-rounders on that same team in the wide receiver room. Garrett Wilson and Chris Olave, and this guy was the best of the bunch. Now, I've heard the narrative about this guy's just a slot guy. That's all he's going to be in the NFL. Well, that's what a lot of people said about Justin Jefferson.
It's so wrong.
Tell
him it's so wrong. They didn't even watch him play. He's not just a slot guy. Golly.
Right. And I'm totally with you on this. I think he is going to be a stud. Now, I think if he slips to Green Bay at 13, there is a chance. And I've read some reports that part of the reason that Green Bay wanted to move up from 15 to 13, I don't know how true these are, was because they wanted a better shot at JSN. I don't think he gets to 13. I think that if he's there at 12, man, you got Nico Collins and John Mechie and then a whole lot of nothing in that Houston wide receiver core after Brandon Cooks moves on to Lisa's Cowboys. You look at what Jackson Smith-Njigba could be for whatever quarterback they put there, whether they're going to run it back with Davis Mills another year, whether they're going to take Stroud or Richardson or Levis. I mean, that guy would be a perfect safety blanket and a guy who can still stretch the field too. A dynamic guy who creates space, gets open, great hands. I mean, there's not a whole lot to not like about Jackson Smith-Njigba. So I think if he falls to 12, Houston would probably take him there. I think you could think about Tennessee maybe taking him at 11, but I think Houston at 12 is where JSN ends up.
All right, Eric Balkman, I got a great one for you here. Okay. Player in the first round that's going to make the most fantasy impact this season.
Well, it's Robinson for sure. I would say Smith-Njigba. I would say this is if you're talking about like an FFPC redraft league, the top 2 rookies going would be, and this is not Superflex, top 2 rookies going would be Robinson and Smith-Njigba, right? After that, boy, I'm not sure. I think that Mayer and Dalton Kincaid, I think they both go in the first round. And obviously with the FFPC, you have tight end premium scoring. So they're getting 1.5 points per catch for every reception they make. So I think that they would, be in the conversation for that. I think that if you look at the receivers, if the Buffalo Bills end up taking somebody like, Josh Downs or somebody like that later in the first round, all of a sudden you're talking about this guy usurping Gabe Davis's role in that offense and maybe having a big time season opposite Stephon Diggs with Josh Allen throwing to it. So I think he'd be in the conversation. And I would not rule out, and I think this is mostly, just smoke. There's no fire here, but I should bring it up. I would not rule out Jahmyr Gibbs, who I know has been rumored to go to the Dolphins, maybe even going ahead of Bijan Robinson. I don't think it happens. But, guys, if Jahmyr Gibbs is the first running back taken in this draft over Robinson, he is going to have a massive impact on fantasy leagues, both dynasty and redraft. So I would say that, give the caveat, he's got to go in the first round, but all of a sudden he enters the conversation as maybe the most impactful guy. 199 pounds, probably never going to be a 3-down guy, but his pass catching skills are elite as he showed at 2 different schools. So I like Gibbs here.
If somebody took Jahmyr Gibbs over Bijan Robinson, it would be maybe worse than Bill Belichick's dumbass. Do you know where I'm going here, Eric? Do you know where I'm going here?
Keep going. I think I'm on the right trail. I just can't see the destination yet.
Then Bill Belichick's dumbass taking Sony Michel over Nick Chubb.
Yeah.
How does he still have a job? I'm kidding with that. I'm kidding. I joke. I have some jokes from time to time. But I mean, what one of the worst draft picks I've ever seen. You got 2 Georgia backs. Oh my God. Sony Michel's not even in the league anymore. Nick Chubb is going to run. I think Nick Chubb's going to have a phenomenal year this year without Hunt being there to siphon some touches. Anyway, let me reel it in here. Are you a Jalen Hyatt guy, Eric? To me, he's a polarizing guy in this draft. I love me some Jalen Hyatt. Do you?
I do not actually. And this is a player that I know that the Packers have. I don't think they've met with him, but I know that they've been a lot of people have mocked Jalen Hyatt to the Packers in the second round. The 2 red flags that stand out to me. Number one, the offense that he was in at Tennessee isn't exactly the best translation to NFL offense. So it's difficult for me to get a good gauge on him there. And number 2, the guy is so fast that it wasn't ever really relied upon to run a wide route tree at Tennessee. He didn't have to, because he was like, even when you knew Jalen Hyatt was going to be running a 9 route down the sideline, he would still run by you. So he didn't necessarily have to have that route tree polish. Now, speed kills. You can't teach speed. And I think that if he goes in the second round, if all he ever is a Ted Ginn, Deshaun Jackson speed merchant in the NFL, that might be good enough to justify a second round pick when you consider how long of a career that those guys had. From a fantasy football standpoint, he, to me, is never going to be the type of guy that is ever going to be a wide receiver 1. He's never going to be a top 12 wide receiver, which is why I'm kind of down on him. He might fit the role for whoever drafts him and then whoever signs him to a second contract. I think he's got some talent. I just think he's got a lot to work on here. It's a weaker wide receiver class, so maybe you can make the case that Hyatt should be drafted high among the receivers. He's not one of my favorite guys. I can see why people do like him, though.
Eric Balkman, we thank you so much for joining us tonight. Everybody can follow you at Eric Balkman. Eric, where can everyone find you and listen to you?
Yeah, you mentioned 95.3, 99.1 Appleton, Oshkosh in Wisconsin. We're about a couple of Jordan Love Hail Marys southwest of Lambeau Field here. That's where we do the show from. I have the High Stakes Fantasy Football Hour Friday nights at the FFPC YouTube channel, youtube.com/FFPC Fantasy. Which is where I also do the RotoViz High Stakes Lowdown weekly during the NFL season. And of course, the High Stakes Fantasy Football Show every Thursday night, bettorsports.com, that you can catch from 7 to 9 p.m. And of course, I'll be anchoring coverage for Bettor Sports, the Bettor Sports Network, coming up on Friday from 7 to 9. Andrew Cooper, Mark Malusis, and a host of others. It's going to be a lot of fun.
Thank you so much for joining us. We look forward to having you again. This is just a great time of the year. We got NBA playoffs. We got the NFL draft, NHL. It's all so good, and we appreciate you coming on. I want to remind you all that the Bettor Sports Network app has the best NFL draft experience you're going to find. Join us Thursday and Friday night to follow all the picks, chat with fans, and play our live draft game. Get instant fantasy football and betting analysis as the picks are announced. Answer predictive questions and compete for your chance to win fabulous prizes. Pre-draft coverage begins Thursday at 7 p.m. Eastern and Friday at 6 p.m. Eastern. The 2023 NFL Draft Bettorcast. Download the Bettor Sports Network app for free right now in the Apple app and Google Play stores. We're going to get back and talk about what's happening in the NBA. I haven't looked. I've been on the NFL news right here, so I don't want any spoilers. Don't even tell me right now, Rick. You're listening to Lisa Ann and Rick Kamla on Bettor Sports Live on the Bettor Sports Network.
Moose and Keith, weekdays at 10 a.m. Eastern on Bettor Sports Network.
Calvin Ridley yesterday, he applied for reinstatement from the National Football League.
Ridley, Kirk, Zay Jones, Travis Etienne, Trevor Lawrence. That is crazy potent on offense.
Yeah, it's going to be awesome. I mean, Ridley's great.
I think Trevor Lawrence is a guy I want in fantasy this year.
I think you're probably right. I think they're just going to get better and better. First off, Peterson's a wonderful offensive mind, a great head coach, and we've seen that and saw that this year as Jacksonville made it to the postseason. And Trevor Lawrence, anybody that questioned whether or not he could play in the National Football League or just how good he was going to be in the NFL, those questions were answered this past season as in the second half of the year. Statistically speaking, he was a top 3 quarterback in the NFL. That's how good Trevor Lawrence is. You throw Calvin Ridley into the mix, he's going to be great. Yeah, I think Lawrence is a guy you want. I think Ridley's a guy you want. Clearly, Travis Etienne is going to be one of those early, first-round selections as well, being the dual threat running back that he is, not only running, but also catching the ball out of the backfield, Keith, and the ability to take something small and take it to the house. Take a 5-yard dump pass, make a guy miss in the open field, and he's gone. I mean, you saw that with Travis Etienne this past season for Jacksonville. Yeah, sky's the limit. I mean, I think you're going to go from a team in the year span where you wanted no part of the Jacksonville Jaguars when you're looking at fantasy football to where you want as many Jaguars as you possibly can because they're going to be really, really productive. And let's see if they get their tight end back as well. Who had
Evan Ingram was great.
And Evan Ingram, who was great this past season.
Yeah. I mean, if they keep that whole core together, their offense is going to be one of the best in football. Like, I legitimately think that they could be one of the best offenses in football.
Zay Jones, Evan Ingram, Christian Kirk, then you throw
Ridley,
Travis Etienne, Trevor Lawrence, a good offensive line, and you've got Doug Peterson being creative calling.
Right.
And you look at that division. The Colts are a mess.
Yep.
Titans
look like they're on the downslide.
Titans are on the downslide, right? That window is clearly closed. And then you got the Houston Texans.
Years away from relevancy.
Yeah.
I mean, Jacksonville could win 11 games next year.
Moose and Keith. Weekdays at 10 a.m. Eastern on Bettor Sports Network.
And we are back. Lisa Ann and Rick Kamla right here on Bettor Sports Live on the Bettor Sports Network. And the roar of the city must be real out there. The Knicks advance for the first time since 2013. The score, 106-95. No regret now about Donovan Mitchell. Let's go, New York Knicks.
Wow. This one's a tough one, LA. This one's a tough one.
What's tough about it? You didn't see it coming? You thought the Cavs were going to win this series, didn't you? It throws your whole thing off.
It throws my whole thing off.
It does. It's like doing a bracket. You're like, this isn't really that I care as much as it throws my whole thing off. I had a concept here. You could end up with the same two teams that you
are so funny, man.
But it's so real, right? It threw your thing off.
It threw a wrench in my whole thing over here. Yeah, I had the Cavs in 7. How'd that work out? I'm shocked. I really am. Okay, the Knicks did what I thought the Knicks would do. Play with grit, blue collar team and get multiple, contributions from a variety of places and Brunson clutch. Cleveland crapped the bed in this series. Evan Mobley and Jared Allen. And look, Mitchell Robinson and Isaiah Hartenstein don't grab any headlines at all. They are a phenomenal defensive tandem at the center position. They completely neutered Jared Allen and Evan Mobley, both of them. These guys, Allen and Mobley, combined for 10 points tonight, LA. 10.
Yeah. Mobley, 39 minutes. Allen, 36 minutes. I mean, this is crazy. Not – you can play like this in one of your 40 games of the season. You can't play like this in the playoffs.
You can't. So you got to give credit to New York and the defense that they play on big men. But you also have to look at Allen and Mobley and be like, what the hell? You also have to look at Donovan Mitchell and Darius Garland. Because big men don't handle the ball. They need the smalls to pass the ball to them. And that didn't happen in this series, LA. So it's not all their fault, but I mean, it doesn't matter. Like, go get offensive rebounds. Do something. 10 damn points from 2 guys in a combined 75 minutes for Mobley and Allen. And they had 10 points.
And you
How
also
is that
got
to work in any place.
you got to give the Knicks credit in the sense that Randall only got to put in 16 minutes before the ankle injury. You got players putting in 47, 42, and 36 minutes and just staying out there consistently get it done. Barrett looked great tonight with 21 points. I mean, 12 rebounds for Hart. 12 rebounds. You're getting it done. There's no double-digit rebounds, assists, steals, or anything for the Cavs. This is a bummer for Cavs fans losing at home. I'm sure they're going to, burn things outside of the arena.
Be careful with that. When you play with fire, you get burned. It's disrespectful to these players. This is a bad look for Donovan Mitchell, LA. It is. Okay. Let's talk narratives for a minute here. This is a bad look. All right. You could never get over the hump with Utah. And now you are unable to get over the hump with Cleveland, even though you had a better record than New York, even though all the expectations were on your side. You were the favorite. And once again, you lost. Okay. I'm still a Donovan Mitchell fan, and he's still a young guy with a chance to change all of this. But right now, the playoff chapter of the Donovan Mitchell book is not a good read right now, LA. It's not. You lost to the Clippers without Kawhi that year, and he had a wrenched ankle himself. But Paul George beat you that year. And that year, they led the NBA in wins. They had the #1 record. And now you're with the Cavs, a hotshot team all year. You win 51 games, I think it was. Yes, 51 games. And you get smoked in 5 games by the Knicks? What the hell is that? You lose 2 home games in this series? They had an unbelievable home record, LA. Arguably the best home court advantage in the East.
The Knicks played them really well at home that first game they played in Cleveland. The Knicks played really well. They brought it. And the energy in MSG is unbelievable to watch during these series. You see it on TV, you can feel it. But the way they played on the road was incredible. Obviously, the Lakers want to win this next game at home because there's absolutely no excuse for 106-84 with 8 minutes and 15 seconds left in the fourth quarter. There's no excuse. You've got LeBron James, you got D'Lo, you got Anthony Davis. There's no excuse for this spread.
There's not. The end of the third quarter, LA, it was a massive eruption for Memphis. And I'm working with you, so I wasn't able to all right, it was a 17-1 run or something like that, but it felt like a 17-1 run. Bucket after bucket after bucket after bucket. So it was like a big spread. I don't know, 14 or 18 or something through 3 quarters, LA. I'm sorry that I'm wonky with the math here. But then you go to the fourth quarter, and they've continued to pile it on. Right now, they're in a 7:42 to go. It's a 22-point lead for Memphis, and I did not expect the Lakers to win this game. LA, I didn't. I thought it would be closer than this, but I'm really not all that surprised. We talked about this. This was a gravy game for the Lakers, or a greed game. You're up 3-1. You can lose this game, and you're still in great shape.
Of course. But I'm disappointed about. I'm disappointed about Dillon Brooks, he's only got 8 points. So I feel like he can't be the villain tonight, even though he rightfully should. They're putting the smackdown down on LeBron, but he would have to outscore LeBron to be able to put that kind of smack talk out there. But he is making it exciting, and this is a deficit, but he can't take any credit for it. So what does Dillon Brooks do now?
How about you address the media after the game, LA? How about that? The last 2 games, both Memphis losses, he has ducked the media after the game.
He gets fined for that, right?
I believe so, but I didn't hear. But I didn't see any reporting about that.
Right.
Maybe they do, maybe they don't. I think in theory they do. Do they actually follow through and fine them? I don't know, but they should. Yeah. And I'm not trying to take money out of ball players' pockets. And I think if you're
but dude, if it's part of your job, you kind of have to do it. It'd be like one of us saying, you know what? I'm not showing up for the last segment, bro. I just don't feel like it. You know what I mean? That is the last segment of your gig. You get in the shower, you put on your little outfit, and you go out there and, you bring a mystery drink. There's players now trying to bring their own swag that they're doing influencer work for. Well, we all know Gatorade is the official sponsor of all of this. It's the label has to be facing a certain way. Was it D'Lo the other night that brought out a drink that nobody had seen before? And everybody's like, what's he doing? Drinking his favorite drink. Well, this isn't a good look. I get it. The Lakers want to win it. I'm fine with that. I'm fine with LeBron wanting his family there, all of his friends, the hoopla, make a big deal of it as if we didn't know this was going to happen. Fine. But don't lose by 20 points.
Look, I agree. LeBron James is he's the guy having the low motor game tonight. Maybe he's entitled to it after the first 20-point, 20 rebound game of his entire career, which is still a shocking statistic for me.
Yeah.
I'm actually surprised to see Anthony Davis still out here right now. James is as well. Actually, but I'm behind live. I'm like 2 minutes behind live here. Maybe they've emptied the bench at this point. Again,
D'Lo not putting up a lot of points with 11, but you got to give the kid credit. 10 assists. You know, I'd like to see that. If you know that you're having an off shooting night, which does happen, we have off days in radio. Like, do you ever go to do your show and you realize your brain isn't as sharp one day? I mean, you do this 5 days a week, Rick, on NBA radio. There have to be days where, like, your motor isn't running as hard or your voice isn't as clear or whatever it may be. That's an off night. But D'Lo's like, okay, I'm not shooting well. I'm going to be a facilitator. 10 assists.
Yeah. In the, I think you could probably relate with this. We're in the performance business. We're in show business. And I don't believe in bad shows. You know what I'm saying, LA? I'm sure you feel the exact same way. I literally just don't believe in them. Like when LA, just let's take a brief detour down Rick Kamla corporate job boulevard. Okay. Once upon a time, I had a corporate job in a cube, in a financial institution, the whole thing. Right. Thank you, God, for rescuing me. Thank you. And so, that wasn't for me. This sports media thing is definitely for me. But the corporate thing, it wasn't for me, LA. It wasn't for me. So I don't have anything else to say about that because I really don't want to super bang on it because we've got some people that work in corporate America and God bless y'all. It
Not
just
for
wasn't
everybody
for me.
though. Right. I can't go to the same place every day. That's one of my biggest things in life. It's like, I can't go to the same place every day. I knew that as a kid because I would watch my parents go to the exact same place. We lived in a small town. They took the same route. And I can remember saying to both my parents, like, aren't you bored of driving to the same place every single day? Like, to them, they thought nothing of it. And it was Peggy who would say to me, well, you're just different. And that means that you should chase that being different. I'm different. So I would do the post-game presser if I was Dylan Brooks. If 3 days ago I was swagging in sunglasses and I called somebody old, I know that I still have to stand up, right? We all make dummy mistakes or at least own it, but not doing the presser and not putting it all out there. I got to say, Jaws just having a day. Bane, 33 points. I mean, gosh, a couple more stats there and he's going in. I'm just surprised. I'm surprised the Lakers are going to walk it off like this. Now, they'll go in hard when they get back to LA and they'll win this series. Or do you think there's a chance that Memphis could do what the Knicks just did and surprise you?
Yes. I think the Lakers are going to win game 6, but I thought the Cavaliers were going to win tonight's game, LA. Okay. And I thought the Bucks were going to beat the Heat the other night. And by the way, so did most of the basketball world. We are getting a lot. I will say this definitively right now. This is the most unpredictable first round I've ever seen. Okay. When you zig, they zag. When you zag, they zig. I'm telling you right now.
Great games. This,
yes.
I'm glad I'm not watching, right? Like, I'm going to watch the 10 o'clock game, but this is a game where I'd be like, oh, this is a snooze fest. It's like the only game. I'll tell you exactly what it was. I was so bummed because, I'm working, but I always am checking my stats. And my guy that travels with me, he and I were both doing the same thing. Like, all right, we got a little downtime. We'll get to watch this game. It was a game that was so bad. It was Saturday. I want to say it was Saturday night, and it was the only game that was awful. Yeah. And I was like, this is the game we get. It was the Bucks Heat game. And I'm like, really, this is the game we got to watch? Like, the only one we get to choose from? Game selection's awful. I'm glad I'm not watching this game because I'd want to change the channel.
That was not a good game. That was not really entertaining. Just quickly on that corporate America thing, LA. Like when you work in a cube, and I work for Merrill Lynch. Okay, I found at least that there were days that you could absolutely mail it in.
Oh yeah.
Okay, like absolutely just choose that. I don't feel like going to work today, okay, but I don't want to call out. So I'll show up, but I ain't working hard today. Or you just say, I'll give you C effort today, right? I'll work. I'll do a little bit of work here, but I'm going to give you C effort today. So that's how it was in corporate America. I basically broke off enough just to get by. Okay. I gave him B work. I didn't give him A work. Why would I give him A work? I don't want to be there very long. I wanted a job in sports, but we're in the performance business. Like, you know what I'm saying? There are no days off. There are no bad days because you could get Wally pipped. The show goes on no matter what. We all know this, man. So it's a totally different mindset. But yeah, I punted a lot of days back when I was in corporate America. Probably wasted a whole lot of money for Merrill Lynch too.
Oh, they're used to it. Believe me, the averages, they're used to people doing that. But Lakers picking up momentum a little bit right now, 106-91. But this game is done. What's going to be interesting for the Knicks is finding out what is the news with Julius Randle. Will he be able to play? The good news is they get a little bit of extra downtime right now. The downside is it is the same ankle.
So the Knicks may end up, like the Cheshire Cat here, like Joel Embiid and Philly are with the Boston series going longer with Atlanta. And now Reeves is limping around a little bit here at the end of the game. At some point, Darvin's going to have to pull the plug and get his starters out here because they ain't coming back. This ain't happening for them tonight. But for the Knicks, LA, they're going to play the winner of Milwaukee and Miami. I believe that Milwaukee is going to win tonight and then win game 6 and then win game 7. That is, and now Anthony Davis is down grabbing his back and his hip area. So what the Knicks are going to have here, I believe, is almost a week off. For Julius Randle to get that ankle right. And so the longer Milwaukee plays with Miami, the better for the New York Knicks. And we know this. Julius Randle's a tough guy, man. And so he's going to be out there playing at some point. The question is effectiveness.
And let's face it, he hasn't been 100% since he's been back playing, but he's been playing hard. He's got a lot of love for the team. And, man, the fans love him as well.
Oh, yeah. I think a lot of them do. I don't think a lot of them love him enough. But Julius Randle didn't do himself any favors, LA. When he got benched for the fourth quarter on Sunday in game 4, sulking on the sideline, walking out, not addressing the media. It's a bad look, okay? Your team just got basically the series-ending win to go up 3-1. We know it's a 95% chance you win, and tonight they completed that. But be a leader. Okay, be happy your team won. Thibodeau is not going to go to Obi Toppin over you every game. That's what that game required. Go with the flow of it. Your team won the game. If they lost and you want to be pouted up, I guess I would get that more, but your team won. You're up 3-1. You're moving on. You're going to be back in the starting lineup for game 5, which he was. And then he blows another tire here tonight. So, but I'm a Julius Randle guy, LA. I don't think he gets enough credit in New York City. I do not.
He does here. I don't think he gets credit elsewhere. I think he does here. There's a lot of fans, a lot of jersey wearing Julius Randle fans. Something I just pulled up a note on that I had put together while I was watching Embiid. So it was a day or two after the Draymond technical, then suspension. Embiid kind of did the same thing, and it was quite a bit of ruckus. It is amazing how it seems like there's a magnifying, glass on players when these things happen. And Draymond always seems to get, like, no matter what, if Draymond's getting a technical, he's one step closer than missing a game. Did you notice that? Did you see that with Embiid? And what did you think of that play?
No, you're talking about the kick to the junk of Nick Claxton, right?
I am.
So he should have been ejected from that game. And it's contextual, okay? Hear me out. I don't think that that's a flagrant foul too, what he did, okay? Claxton dunked on him, walked over him, and Embiid was like, hell nah, and went up through the gates right there. Made contact with the upper leg, and then it kind of slipped over to the groin area. It's not a flagrant foul 2. It's a flagrant foul 1. It's unnecessary, but it's not excessive, okay? But when you throw James Harden out of that same game later on for making, I would say, somewhat gentle contact with Royce O'Neal's groin area, okay? Come on. So Embiid intentionally kicks Nick Claxton in the groin, but James Harden accidentally knocks into Royce O'Neal's groin, and James Harden gets thrown out of the game? Are you kidding me? That one took me to the twilight zone. So I didn't think either of them were flagrant foul twos. I thought Embiid's was an FF1. I thought Harden was just a personal foul, not even a tech.
Well, what was great was, even though that game wasn't a game that we thought was going to go anywhere, I don't really think the Nets were going any further. The chippiness in that game was awesome.
It was fun.
It was
no
fun.
doubt about it.
It was like, okay, must watch, cannot move from this television till commercial. We're going to get a standalone in this. I'm looking ahead at the schedule. Now, we know tomorrow night we got tough competition because it's the NFL draft, but we got just one game, and it's going to be the Celtics. Is that tomorrow or Friday?
That's tomorrow.
Tomorrow. Okay, great. So we got just one game tomorrow to bounce back and forth with. What's your take on this game tomorrow night between the Celtics and the Hawks? Of course, the Hawks are back at home.
I think the Celtics are going to right the wrongs from game 5. I think they're going to come out like a buzzsaw and win this basketball game. Trae Young has been amazing the last 3 games. Can he keep it up? Yeah, I mean, maybe. He's back at home. That definitely helps. You're going to get DeJounte Murray back. I think it's going to be a good game. I don't think Boston's going to truck them, but I think Boston's going to win. They lost game 3 at Atlanta, then came back and won game 4 at Atlanta. Brown and Tatum both had 31 in that game. That's the kind of response we get here. They know that they sucked and they took their opponent lightly and they finished the game miserably and they gave a win to the Atlanta Hawks. They know that the fiber of this Boston group is of championship ilk. They're going to win the ring this year, LA. And
you do think so? You still think Boston is going to win the championship?
No question. No question in my mind. And let me explain. Milwaukee and Phoenix are their 2 primary challengers, okay? Milwaukee might not make it out of the first round here. And we go over to Phoenix, LA. We talked about this earlier. Kevin Durant, Devin Booker, best duo in the NBA. Kevin Durant, Devin Booker, DeAndre Ayton, and Chris Paul, best core 4 in the NBA. Okay, what else you got? Josh Okogie, Torrey Craig, Cameron Payne, Landry Shamet, Bismack Biyombo. We're all sound asleep on those guys, okay? None of them move the needle for any of us. Their bench absolutely sucks. And Boston, by the way, LA, has the best 8 in the NBA. They have the best 8-man rotation in the NBA. Phoenix doesn't have an 8-man rotation. They have
the depth is definitely you're definitely there on the depth. I just remembered we should probably go back and look at Ricky's props. I'm not trying to, this isn't bad news bears, but Donovan Mitchell, all you needed was over 5.5 assists for this prop. Did he do it for you?
He did, and then he didn't. He did, and then he didn't. Let me explain. So I'm watching Lakers and Grizzlies. I'm hanging out with you. We've got guests. There's a lot going on. So I've been following the Cleveland and New York game. I watched the first half with my eyes, and the second half I've been watching on my phone. And the box score. So Donovan Mitchell, at some point in the fourth quarter, went to 6 assists. Ding! We win. And then later on in the fourth quarter, LA, they took away his assist.
Oh,
they took it away.
You had a live scoring correction.
Correct.
And you were smart. Like, you took the assist. Okay, so it went down to 5 assists.
You can't make this up. He had 6 assists. And then I refreshed and it went back to 5.
Yep, I have 5 as well. I was just refreshing for you.
So does that mean that I recently had a conversation with Amin Al-Hassan about this, and he said there's 3 layers to scorekeeping in the NBA. There's the guy or girl that keeps the score. Is it a block, a steal, whatever? There is somebody at the arena who then vets it. And then there's somebody else on the back end of that who vets it. So maybe they go back and they say, no, that actually was an assist for Donovan Mitchell. I'm very confused and mildly butthurt about this because I like to win. And we had it, and then we didn't. And it's very confusing.
I'd rather never see it and think I was under the whole time than see it. It's like, I know it's happened to you.
It hurts. It does hurt a little bit more.
Lost a fantasy football head-to-head matchup over a scoring correction, because I have.
I can tell you the story again if you want, but it's heartbreaking to this day.
It's happened. All right, RJ Barrett, you had at Cleveland under 17.5 points. Where are we at with that one?
Well, I thought we were going to get a Julius Randle game tonight, and we were. He had LA in 16 minutes, he had 13 points, 4 rebounds, and 6 assists. Julius Randle was going to have a triple-double tonight, and then he got hurt. And RJ Barrett had 21 points tonight. So, we make the picks, and then the games happen.
Anthony Davis at Memphis under 35.5. That's the combo for points and rebounds.
Yeah, he obliterated that. He had
19 rebounds.
31 and 19. Like only Anthony Davis. Only high motor, low motor, high motor, low motor, maddening Anthony Davis.
No
could have
mid-ground.
Literally a Wilt Chamberlain game, and you're getting beat by 20. Congratulations. He is the most baffling. I am never betting on him again, LA. And I don't bet like I trust me. I am emotionally invested to these picks that I deliver. I want them to win. I don't half-ass this, not even one time. I want to win, but I don't have any money on it. But I still take it hard when I lose. But Anthony Davis is just out. Okay. If I would have bet on him tonight, LA, he would not be having the stat line he's having right now. I know that sounds crazy. Like, how can you actually believe that?
Is he is he off the court? Let me check on this. Do we have an update on Anthony Davis? Because Byron had said he was injured.
He landed hard and got up and he came back into the game. So it was
buying some time.
More fake drama from Anthony Davis is what it was.
It's buying some time, catching your breath. That's always the big thing there. Well, we've got Byron says, for all the championship in Boston this millennium, losing to the Hawks would wipe it all out.
If Boston lost to the Hawks?
Yeah.
I might retire if that happens.
Don't say that.
I can't
so dramatic.
I know, but I'm a dramatic guy. I can't, and obviously I'm joking here. I'm like,
of course you are.
It's like, I don't know, I'm just having fun complaining with you guys here. But like, I thought the Cavaliers were going to beat the Knicks and felt really, really confident about that. These playoffs, LA, it's like the NFL playoffs. The NFL playoffs is always throwing swervy curveballs and sliders at us, right? And that's what we're getting here in the NBA playoffs. Big time.
I am going to get to go to
Anthony Davis.
The great news is the Knicks are still alive. There's another series, which is going to be twice as exciting, which means I am going to be going to a game. No doubt about it. The Heat are up on the Bucks early, 24-18.
See what I mean?
We got
Who saw that happening? Who saw that happening?
2 more games to watch tonight. We've got draft coverage here on both nights, on tomorrow, Thursday, which I will be on. Friday, Eric Balkman, who joined us tonight, will be on. I want to thank Britt Flinn. Make sure you follow at Britt_FLINN. Britt's going to be in Kansas City. It's going to be fun to follow. Check out Britt's work with the Fantasy Alarm. Follow Eric Balkman as well at Eric Balkman. I cannot wait for the draft because then I start best ball, start mock drafting, start planning. All of the things that we look forward to the most when it comes to fantasy football season. And just today I was thinking about how busy I've been and how much I cannot wait for football Sundays because it's the one day that I'm still all day just in front of my TV and I need some of those days in my life again. Thank you all. Yes, Wendy. Wendy and I met last Friday night and I spotted Wendy just from social media. I was really busy, Rick, but I looked over and I go, Wendy, is that you? And Wendy's like, I'll get in line. No, I'll wait and talk to you. I'm like, oh my gosh, no, you won't get in line. I told everybody I played a fantasy football league with Wendy. We've never met before and everybody thought it was so cool. Wendy and I had a special moment. I'm so thankful that you came and I got to see you in person, get a photo with you. It was amazing. Thank all of you in the chat. We appreciate you and we want you to share this with your friends, whether it's the app, whether it's retweeting, whether it's reposting from YouTube. We appreciate you being in here with us and we want the more, the merrier. Rick, Kamla, I know that we'll be tweeting and talking during the draft. You'll probably be checking in on us here and you're going to have a great day tomorrow. Talk about the fact that the Knicks are going to the next round on your show on NBA Radio.
Probably going to lead the show with it, depending on what happens with Sac and Golden State, but it's a huge story. I mean, it's a monster upset. Randall got hurt in the win, and now the Knicks are going to play the winner of the Bucks and the Heat. And I mean, the Bucks are off to a lousy start.
Thank you to our guests. Thank you to all of you, and thank you, Better Boss, for being in the room and loving jury duty. To our producer, Heavy T on air, you are the best. Everybody have a great night. Thanks for joining us right here, Lisa Ann and Rick Kamla. Better Sports Live on the Better Sports Network. We have to do this now, Rick. We do this to sign off. Have a great night, everybody.
Later.